everybody. We're going to call the meeting of the Southington Planning and Zoning Commission for Tuesday, June 3rd, 2023 to order. Dave, can you please call the roll?
25, not 23.
Oh.
Alternate Commissioner Salmieri.
Thank you.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Gaida.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Ma.
Here.
Baird.
Here.
Commissioner Tedesco. Commissioner Sewell. Commissioner Coles.
Present.
Commissioner Britton.
Here.
Commissioner Chaplinsky.
Here.
Vice Chair Wolowski.
Here.
Chair Hammersley.
Hammersley is here. I did hear from Commissioners Tedesco and Commissioner Sewell that they will not be in tonight. I think that it's Commissioner Keard's turn down there, so we'll see Commissioner Keard and we'll see Commissioner Ma for tonight's meeting. With that, we have a roll. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can all remain standing for a moment of silent reflection, please. All right, thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting on May 20th, 2025.
So moved,
Mr.
Mr. Chair.
Leskey. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Britton with a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Chaplinsky, I'm assuming you're going to abstain because you weren't here?
Oh, that's right, yes, I will abstain from that.
And Commissioner Ma, you would abstain as well because you weren't here either, correct? Okay. Motion carries. Commissioner discussion subcommittee reports. Do we have any subcommittee reports? Nothing new. Nothing new? I will report that there was a meeting of the Economic Strike Force last week. I think it was last Thursday, if I'm remembering correctly. I wasn't able to attend that meeting. However, I did speak to Mike Del Santo, the chairman of the subcommittee. Afterwards, it was the discussion was really around a request for some tax abatements outside of the enterprise zone, which they did recommend. There's a couple businesses down on I say over by the Spring Street part of town, I think it's West Queen Street actually, that are looking for some tax abatements. We really don't play in tax abatements here in planning and zoning, but it is an eventual development that will be coming forward for us. So that's what happened there. So, okay, nothing else? Okay, under Chairman's comments, a couple things. One is that we all received a letter that was forwarded to us by Alex Radon from Councilman Jack Perry. I did invite Jack Perry here this evening to talk to us about that letter. I don't see him in the audience. I could be missing. No? All right. The letter basically talked about a concern that Mr. Perry had with regards to his words, selective zoning enforcement. And he went on to say a couple other things. It's all part of the record. I'm sure that if you want to take a look at it, I'll give you a copy myself, but it's up there. What I will say is that a couple things. The way that our zoning enforcement works is that we have a zoning enforcement officer in town, and what he does on a regular basis, and I know this from talking to him as well as our acting planning director, Dave LaValle, that what he does is he regularly drives around town. If he sees a violation, he notes the violation, follows it up with a letter to the property owner of that site, letting him know about the violation and asking him to or that person to rectify that violation. Whether that violation gets rectified or not is completely up to the property owner. And in some cases, they rectify it. In some cases, they don't. I think that our zoning enforcement officer probably follows up or may follow up after a certain period of time if it's not been rectified, and maybe sends a secondary letter and does what he can. But it's not something that is done, in my opinion, selectively, which I think is a little bit of a, there's no evidence that I've ever seen, and Mr. Perry certainly hasn't provided any evidence that I'm aware of that speaks to that. If there's a problem with, in Mr. Perry's eyes, with a staffing member in town, a town staffer, then that's an HR issue. It's not an issue for the Planning and Zoning Commission. If there's a problem with somebody exerting, under Mr. Perry, to use again Mr. Perry's word, political influence, then that's an issue that should be brought to the Ethics Commission, and again, is not the Planning and Zoning Commission's jurisdiction or responsibility to enforce. So with that, I don't think that letter has anything, we don't have anything really that we could do about it, and so I don't think that it is proper for us to have that. But again, Mr. Perry requested at the town council meeting that it be brought to us. It was brought to us, and as far as I'm concerned, it's been disposed of. The other thing I wanted to talk about is we all have been receiving email updates on legislative action that's been taken up in Hartford over the last couple of weeks. There's one particular bill, House Bill 5002, which is I'll call it an omnibus housing bill, that has passed both the State House and the State Senate. It is sitting on Governor Lamont's desk right now. I checked about an hour ago, and I don't believe that he signed it yet. There are a lot of pieces of that I'm going to reserve us going through for the reasons that we have a robust agenda this evening, and also until he signs it, I think it's premature for us to talk about it. So let's see what happens, and then we'll take a review of that sometime in the future if he signs it, and talk about what it does to the business that we do here. With that, I will read our meeting rules and guidelines, the preamble. Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting for the Southington Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Robert Hammersley. I'm the chair of the commission, and I want to take a few moments to explain the meeting format. We operate a little bit differently here than other boards and commissions in towns. Aside from administrative items, tonight's meeting is comprised primarily of two parts, a public hearing and a business meeting. During the public hearing, applicants present the application to us in detail, which allows the commission members and the public the opportunity to better understand what's being proposed. Following that presentation, commission members may ask questions as needed, and then we ask members of the public who support or oppose applications to speak. Likewise, any member of the public who speaks, commission members may ask them questions as following up to make sure that we understand what their concerns may be. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized by myself. Once recognized, come forward to the podium over here, state your name and address so we can get that for the record, and address all comments directly through myself so we make sure that we keep this in an orderly fashion and not to the applicant or other members of the public. Be advised that this is your opportunity to ask questions and make comments on an application, because once a public hearing is closed, no additional testimony from the public or the applicant is permitted. It's important to maintain order and decorum at all times, and that's why we ask that you direct all comments through myself. At our last meeting 2 weeks ago, we did have a couple people in the audience who made comments while people were up there. I ask that you refrain from that. If it happens after I ask that it's been refrained from, I do have the ability, and I will enforce having you removed from the meeting room. We're not going to be disruptive. We're going to act in a respectful manner towards everybody, and also in a respectful manner to the people behind you who may wish to be able to want to come up and speak as well. After everyone has had a full opportunity to speak, all questions have been answered, and all information has been received, the commission will decide whether it's appropriate to close the hearing. We will not consider voting on the application until the business meeting portion of our agenda. During the business meeting, the commission deliberates applications submitted to the commission and decides how to act on them. We have four possible options. One is to approve an application as submitted, approve it with stipulations, conditions, and modifications. We can table it for a future meeting, and in some cases, we may deny an application. 4 affirmative votes of the commission are generally required to approve any application. If you have to leave before a decision is rendered, you may call the planning department tomorrow afternoon to get the results of tonight's meeting. Dave LaValle down there will let you know. And with that, we'll move into our public hearing. Item number 9A, 3 Squared LLC proposed zoning text amendment for revisions to Section 4 of the zoning regulations, special zone. Proposal includes an addition of 4.J entitled Affordable Housing AHZ zone to allow the development of a multifamily community as a set-aside development as defined in General Statutes 8-30GA 6. To promote housing choice and economic diversity within the town of Southington. This is zoning amendment number 620. In addition, just to move things along, we're going to take, as we did last time, we're going to take the first couple items all together. They are the same applicant. We did this 2 weeks ago. We're going to do it tonight as well. And that would be 9B, 3 Squared LLC, petition to change the zoning district boundary from a business zone to an AHZ zone, property located at 1104 South Main Street. This is zoned as a business district. This is zone change 582. Those 2 items will be taken up previously at the suggestion of the applicant. We're going to go right to the public to get them to come up and give us input. Why don't we wait until afterwards, and maybe you can come up and we'll have a conversation about a couple of things in terms of process. That was the agreement. So if there's any member of the public who would like to speak for or against this application, please come up, state your name and your address, and let us know what you think.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and I defer to you on this, but I do only have maybe 60-second introduction to explain why we don't have any new materials tonight, why our team's not here, and I think it would be beneficial for the public to understand the situation.
Attorney Gomes, I'll do that, all right? Because, again, the agreement is that we were going to go right into the public. This is a hearing that's being continued from our last meeting. There were materials that were presented that are all part of the record. If you want to put that up on the screen, that might be helpful if you have it. I don't know if you do. If you don't, that's fine. But what was determined, because we had to stop our meeting at a certain point last time, what was determined was that this public hearing was going to be continued, and that's where we are tonight. And with regards to the presence of the applicant, I encourage them to come. They have, and we'll talk about this later on, they have requested a 21-day extension on the public hearing timeline, which puts it out, I think, until our July 15th meeting. And my understanding is that what the applicant is currently doing is taking the input that they received at the last meeting, and we'll take the input, I presume, that they received tonight, and are making revisions to the plan, and they'll be presenting that to us at a future date. So with that, we'll move into the public.
Mr. Chairman, I would just say, and I apologize, I'm not meaning to interrupt, but I do reserve the right to voice my objection onto the record. If you want to go with the public first, I do have to put that on the record on behalf of my client.
Well, that was the agreement, so that's what we're doing. So any member of the public who'd like to speak for or against this application, please come up to the podium. Start with your name and your address, please, and we will hear your concerns. Good evening, Regina.
Good evening. Excuse me, allergies, so hopefully you can hear me. Regina Coviello, 12 Beecher Street. Just give me a second. I was unable to come last meeting. First, I would like to say, is this a perfect place for this apartment complex? No. However, Southington needs a lot more affordable apartments, not houses. I wish the percentage was higher for affordable apartments per complexes. We have to start thinking about all people. Not all of us are lucky enough to be born into wealth like a lot of people in this town were. Kids are living with their parents, into their 30s in some cases, because they can't afford an apartment. Married couples with 2 incomes might be okay until they want to start a family. Without 2 incomes and childcare, what do? They Then we have the elderly and disabled that are on Social Security struggling. I actually talked to Kevin Myers from the Housing Authority about the elderly housing a few months ago. The list is so long that you might never get an apartment. Basically, unless someone ends up in an end-of-life facility or passes away, that is the only time there is an opening. Something will go into this property, whether it is an apartment building or a business. I think it would be better as an apartment complex than, say, a gas station convenience store. As far as some of the safety issues people have brought up about sidewalks, crossing areas, speeding, etc., those are everywhere in the town. Some of these issues should have gone to Public Works and/or Police Department. As far as traffic, Queen Street and West Street have apartment complexes, and nothing is worse than that traffic. Now, as far as this application and others that will likely be coming in front of Planning and Zoning, there is not much the commission can do because their hands are tied. Under Connecticut 830G, the only denials for applicants are health and safety. If the applicant has shown that there are no concerns, the commission cannot deny them. If the commission denies the application, then the applicant can go through the appeal process. At that point, it goes to court and will then cost the town of Southington and us, its taxpayers. This town should have thought about this years ago before they turned Southington into a city, because that is what we are now, City of Progress. They did not plan well for the future. We have so many businesses and even have 2 more hotels being built, one of which will be at the end of West Street next to a school. If Planning and Zoning allowed a hotel to be built next to a school, how can they deny this application? There was an applicant that wanted to have the old Briarwood Lincoln College rezoned for over 55 with some affordable apartments. They kept coming here over and over, getting questions and questions, and I guess they must have given up because I noticed they removed their application. That would have been a great place. Sorry. Okay. With the new Connecticut 830G, this town has no choice but to allow more affordable housing here because Southington's numbers are low. We all know, because he has made it absolutely clear, Chair Hammersley, and I address you, and others that don't agree, that they think that our town needs no more affordable housing, but we do. I have lived here my whole life, 3rd out of 5 generations that have lived here. I'm tired of hearing from some people, including some of our present and past commissioners and town leaders, saying the following: that we don't want people, and actually many of them will say those people, from other towns coming here. I say to that, it's okay for them to spend their money here, and to work here, but not live here. That is just wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Hey, Regina, before you leave, I just want to see if any member of the commission has any questions of you. I do take exception to your statement that, or inference that anybody up here has ever said that we don't want, to use your words, those people. I have been here for 10 years. I have never heard that. I have never said that. And I think that it's borderline out of line to make that comment. But, you know.
I've been here for 59.
Okay.
I went to school here. I lived here. I have seen it all. So,
All right.
all right?
Okay. Thank you.
And the real people know the truth.
Thank you for coming out tonight, as always. I appreciate it, sir. I will say, as you come up to the podium, I'm just going to say that anybody who has testified 2 weeks ago or has sent in written testimony, that testimony is part of the record. There's no need for you to testify again. Again, we have a very robust agenda. There's a lot of people in here who are here to testify on perhaps a different agenda item. I want to be respectful of their time as well. and try to get them out of here at a reasonable time as much as we can afford. But at the same time, I welcome as much public input as we can get. So, sir, thank you for allowing me to do that. Again, your name and your address, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Wyland Clift. That's spelled W-Y-L-A-N-D, Clift. I live at 1175 South Main Street, Unit 9, here in Plantsville. I have a short letter that I'll read, and then I will submit copies.
Okay.
Dear Commissioners, the Planning and Zoning Commission should not rule on this application until the applicant presents its site plans to the Southington Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. A review of the record shows that the Southington Inland Wetlands Agency was asked only to amend the inland wetlands map. The applicant had a soil scientist delineate the soil types on the site, and the Inland Wetlands Agency approved amending the inland wetlands map to more accurately reflect the location on the wetlands on the property. And that is all. The applicant apparently now wants the commission, you, to assume that because the applicant proposes no activity within a wetlands or within their corresponding buffer zone, that it can now proceed without further engagement of the Inland Wetlands Agency, and I disagree. There has been no presentation of this proposal to construct this massive four-story housing complex to the Southington Inland Wetlands Agency. The Southington Inland Wetlands regulations provide that the Inland Wetlands Agency, and I'm quoting, may rule that any other activity located within such upland review areas or in any other non-wetland or non-watercourse area is likely to impact or affect wetlands or watercourses and is a regulation activity. I respectfully request that this commission require that these plans be submitted to the Southington Inland Wetlands Agency so that it can rule on whether the exercise of its authority is warranted. It is very likely that the intense building activity and coverage of the property with paved parking will have an impact on and affect the nearby wetlands and watercourses. Thank you.
Okay, any questions of the, Wiley, I think is
I
your
have
first
a
name, right?
copy of
Okay.
this. Like it was-
Why don't you, on your way back to your seat, you could just drop it with Dave, he'll get into the record. I just have a question for you, please,
Certainly.
before you sit down. Are you a professional in soil science or inland wetland issues at all?
I am not a soil scientist. I did serve on an inland wetlands commission for, I think it was 9 years in another town.
It wasn't in Southington, however?
No, no.
So your testimony is somewhat based on that service, correct?
Yes, and I'm also an attorney.
You're also an attorney, okay. You live in the area?
Yes, I
You're on
live
South Main Street, I
within
believe you said.
500 feet.
So your testimony is being provided to us based on your knowledge of the area and
Yes.
previous experience, having served on an inland wetlands commission on a municipal level, correct?
Yes, that's fair to say. I also served, I was the former Bristol Corporation Counsel.
Okay. Well, thank you for your testimony. I appreciate you coming out tonight. And like I said, just wrap it off with Dave, the guy in the white shirt over here, and he'll get it into the record. Thank you for coming out. Anyone else wish to testify on this application at this time? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Mary Peterman, 71 Wilbur Street, Plantsville.
Could I get your name again? I'm sorry.
Mary
Mary?
Peterman,
Okay. And your address? I'm sorry.
71 Wilbur Street,
Okay.
Plantsville. Right around the corner from where the proposed property
Got it, yeah.
changes would be. I don't have the scientific data to support. I'm talking from a purely personal reason. I don't believe there is a space to do what they would like to do. I do believe that Southington does need more affordable housing, definitely. Is that the right spot? Absolutely not. We just renovated Plantsville for the past 4 months. As a retired teacher from Southington, I worked here for 40 years. I could not get down the street in Plantsville. When I come out of Wilbur Street, I turn onto Milldale Avenue. My choice is to go left, and I'm dealing with the sliders traffic for the exit and on-ramp to 84. If I turn right, I was dealing with all the construction to make Plantsville a village. I don't believe that the plan supports what Plantsville should be looking like if you would like a village. There are other places, even in back in the factories that are there near the, where we have our beautiful, help me with the words, the rails to trails. There are some places there, perhaps. I don't know, there's wetlands there too as well. I don't know, but it seems to need to be researched better. It's right across from a middle school. There is too much traffic, it is too congested, and affordable housing, yes, is very good for Southington. Right there, we absolutely do not need it there. I believe they need to look at better places. There are certainly many more places, but the village of Plantsville is not the right place at this time. And we also need to support affordable housing because we have been dealing with blight complaints in our neighborhood, and we already are struggling in order to keep our property values up. And I don't believe that this would be a plus for the neighbors of that neighborhood to keep our property values where they need to be. I'm speaking from experience. I've had a property foreclosed on twice right next door to me. And I have had people who own the property behind me who have not taken care of that property for the last 20 years. There's still a boat that is there that has been there for 22 years unregistered in the land behind me. So we need to respect our property, treat it properly, and look at where we should properly place affordable housing and other units in Southington. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Mary, for members of the commission? Okay. Thank you for
you.
coming out tonight. Appreciate it. Anyone else wish to testify on this application? Sir, come on up.
Chairman,
I feel that way all the time, man.
maybe we start from the front back again.
It's real simple.
Your name and your address, please, sir.
Oh, sorry. Thomas Peterman, 71 Wilbur Street, Plantsville. We've been complaining about our neighborhood for years to this board. Nothing been done. Now you want to shove a 4-story building with 1.9 parking spaces? That place isn't that big. And you want to change zoning to put buildings within 10 feet of each other? Hope a fire doesn't happen. Sometimes things don't work. And I personally think this is one of them. I don't know what else to say. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't get where you're going to put all this housing across from a school, across from a restaurant. The guy's got his own business, which he's trying to open again. There are going to be cars all over the place. And if you try to get down South Main Street or even up Milldale Avenue, when Kennedy is getting out because the kids don't take buses no more. Mommy and daddy drive them. It's like crazy. There's cars all over the place. I don't know how many cars are going to be in this setup, but it's just too much. That part of town doesn't need it. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Okay, Thomas, you just stand there for a second. Any questions? Thomas, one quick question. You live around the corner from where this is proposed to be
Yeah,
sited, correct?
yeah.
How long have you lived there?
20 years.
Well, let's let Thomas has the floor, so let's let Thomas answer.
20 years.
happy wife.
Oh, no, I lived there before for 8 years, then I moved out, and I moved back when I met my pretty wife.
Nice job. A couple decades, right? Okay. Thank you for coming out tonight. Appreciate you giving us your.
Appreciate
your
y'all's time.
Yeah, no, of course. We actually run for office to be here, so we seek this out. But is there anyone else who'd like to testify on this application? Ma'am, I got a lady back here, and then you can come up, okay? Again, start with your name and your address, please.
Yes, my name is Ruth Benham, and I live at 39 Milldale Avenue. I just want to state I'm a retired general manager. I used to work at Hamilton Sunstrand Collins Aerospace now. I was a cross-functional manager for Illinois and Windsor Locks and led globalized change project teams in 5 countries for central engineering. I understand the need for change and flexing when needed, no doubt. But I also hold close to myself and others, I'm sure, the requirements of being robust in both quality and safety. My concern revolves around overall safety impacts. For Milldale Avenue, the traffic flow and parking on the streets, and the individuals who speed on the road and walkers who utilize the street to and from school and everyday activities. In addition, there's a daycare on Cummings Street, Giggles and Grins, if you're not familiar with it, who use the neighborhood also for walking those toddlers around in the whole neighborhood. They use these little tandem wagons, and it is a huge concern with their staff, I would think, and the children for the safety. I mean, I understand that, they want to get out and they walk and everything, but we also have to take them into account of their facility and in that neighborhood. Another issue concerning is JFK students who walk on field trips to help out the wellness centers in Mulberry Street. For instance, on May 23rd, the students, there must have been a group of 30 of them walking down South Main Street on a class event. I have a picture of, if you want to see it, and you can see the traffic of the trucks behind them and the cars going through, okay? And there's no light or crossing sign at the bottom of Milldale Avenue. And the students, though with teachers, can easily step into South Main from fooling around because they're junior high, and any children they like to fool around and kid around without thinking about the consequences. And that is a huge safety risk that ensues that it might happen, okay? And they turned up on our street on Milldale Avenue, and they were, across the whole street, and the cars that were coming on had to beep for them, to make them aware. I have pictures if you want to see them, and I just want to say they're at risk as traffic increases. Ultimately, having an exit on the south side of this property site will ultimately increase the traffic flow, as many currently use Milldale Avenue as a route to cross over from South Main and Buckland Ave today, when speeding does occur. Another item of concern on Main Street, for instance, the children in general of the Rosewood apartments, I think they are, on Atwater Street, adjacent to the jewelry store. They currently use the schoolyard after school and on weekends. And I would like to go out and I walk, and I was talking to Grace actually at the jewelry store, and we were chatting, and the children just came up the street, and they don't even use the sidewalks. They're in the street on their bicycles. And a car that came around the corner from South Main had to stop and slow up for them. My concern is their safety. They're just, and then when they get to the corner of them crossing over, I think it's a huge concern, So again, as that influx of traffic increases, because now Cheshire is building their strip mall up the street, so to say, and you're going to have now both directions of that flow of traffic. People in Southington going down the street at South Main, and the people from Cheshire who want to come and venture into Plantsville. Nothing is wrong with that, but I'm saying it is a busy street. Let me go on. So that was one of my main concerns. In addition to that strip mall, another concern is for the individuals who exit the proposed area, that curve on South Main Street. It can be tricky. Even from the Milldale Ave, when you're exiting there, you have to be really careful. You know, the people coming off the highway, you know, the inertia, the speed of it, you still kind of have that with you. And so as you progress down that Route 10, these people are still doing a considerable amount of speed as they go down it. So that's my other point. And then the other thing is assisted living and wellness centers, the ongoing, unnoticed maybe at various times, but we do have the ambulances that are frequently down there, the fire trucks lately, more so it seems, with accidents down on the other end trying to support, you know, Waterbury Turnpike Road and accidents down that way, Cheshire, and to assist the fire department that's in Plantsville. And again, I want to state, I'm not against change, absolutely not. I did it for so long in my job role, it's kind of a norm for me. So, and again, it's about flexing, and I understand that, but my sole concern that brought me here tonight is the risk of that complex on South Main Street, a busy street that not only impacts the children, but the adults and the individuals that will live there. There are places better suited in our town that do not involve busy Route 10 of people and students walking on Route 10 in South Main. In the quality and safety, there's absolutely nothing that is more valued and have more risk to human life on all levels, whether you're a parent or not, is, you know, in this instance, traffic flow and safety. And, you know, around having a new structure there. Lastly, to note, I just wanted to thank everyone, and you know, whatever happens, it happens, but I hope you take this into consideration. Thank you.
Absolutely, Ruth. Any questions of Ruth for members of the commission? Commissioner
Sure.
Coles?
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for coming up. I know it's kind of an nerve-wracking thing, but, so here's the thing.
Okay.
They're looking to put in 65 units here. Your concern is about safety and traffic flow, and I've heard this from kind of everybody, and I can ask this question 15 times over. But for you, since you're here, 65, what do you think is a good number? If something's going to happen there, and something's going to get built, and we heard kind of the rules on how these applications come in, like I mean, if you were us to evaluate that, what would you
Correct.
think?
That's a hard one. I would say something very small in scale for a business to, whether it's a complex or whatever, but a lot smaller in scale. And that piece of property, if you ever go out there, I don't know if you've ever been out there to see it, is pretty small to house that property, and especially a 4-story. I know they're supposed to come back and, you know, revisit that. Maybe it'll be smaller, I don't know. But to me, the quality of life, you know, and the safety is huge. When you're talking about Route 10 and you're increasing that flux with all the traffic in both directions from businesses that are going, now you're just kind of adding to the mix of it.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
All set?
Chair.
Anyone else? No? Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate your input. Oh, you're deferring to the gentleman to your right. Come on up. I don't think we have that available tonight, no, but it's on the record, it's part of the record. So again, sir, you have the floor. Name and address, please.
Harry Kastner, Kastner, 456 Atwater Street, apartment 9. So we're the family in the corner. So I want to give you this visualization. Where I'm standing now, if I'm on my porch, there's a 4-story building on that wall. And all those people, windows looking down. Looking to the south, from here to that wall, there's a 4-story building. Don't we have any rights? That's really all I got to say.
Okay. Thanks, Harry. Any questions for Harry from members of the commission? Thank you for coming out tonight.
Can I
Oh,
ask them a
Commissioner
similar
Cole's
question?
gonna-
So if there was a building next door to you and it wasn't 4 stories and it was 2 stories, would that be more palatable for
Well,
you?
why not build it on the other side? Why right up against this one?
I'm glad I asked that question. But if, when we'll just stay on the height
Mm-hmm.
of it, like what's an amenable
Well,
height to-
our apartments are 2 stories, so to keep in tune,
keep it a level playing field?
yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay, any other member of the public wish to testify, ma'am?
Good evening, Chairman. My name is Asia Quinones. I live at 456 Atwater Street in Plantsville. Actually, Harry's my neighbor. And I want to speak to the safety of the issue. I am the mother of a 14-year-old. My son currently attends JFK Middle School right across the street from us. My concern is my child is outside very often playing, and this is a very, very small area to be putting such a huge obstruction. Even if it was a 2-foot or a 2-story building, a 1-story building, all of the construction, all of the cultivating of the land, this is going to create noise. There are sharp objects. This leaves our children in the neighborhood no room to play at all. But again, as a member of, Plantsville society, I moved out of a major big city, being Waterbury, because there was a lot of crime there. There was a lot of congestion from a lot of this affordable housing. And while I do agree it would be a nice addition for Southington to add some affordable housing, there is no room for it at all. Looking out my front window, like he said, and I even think from here to the wall, that's longer than what it would be. It's not going to be a safe environment for our kids who walk across the street to school, who ride their bikes on the street. And again, as a taxpayer in this town, I moved here for some quiet. I love living here. I don't want to move. And unfortunately, if this was something to come, now I have to uproot my family for something that's just going to create a very unsafe situation for my child. And that's all, Chairman.
Okay, any questions? I'm going to ask a question. If there were unfortunately an event in your residence and first responders needed to get into the rear of your structure, given the distance between the location of where you are, you live in those condos on the other side there, right?
Correct.
And where this is proposed to be, which is roughly, I think off the top of my head, it's between 11 and 12, we'll call it 12 feet to be generous. It's less than 12 feet, but 12 feet distance. Do you feel that the first responders have adequate space to be able to access the rear part of your residence?
In the current state that it's in right now,
Under this proposal?
I don't. Again, it's one of those things where when you see it on the diagram that I'm sure you all have seen of the,
We're aware.
I don't believe that, and again, I'm no professional here, but I don't believe that is scaled appropriately. I look out that window every morning. I know what space is actually there. And there was someone else who had mentioned, maybe putting a smaller structure there. There's already a structure there. There's a house there. There's a house. My kid plays with their kids. There's already something there. So I just don't think that space is appropriate. Again, if first responders do need to come, if you look at the space, I don't see how somebody would be able to access all parts of the building in a quick, effective manner, slapping another giant monstrosity on top of the small space we already have.
Okay. Thank you for coming out tonight. I appreciate your input.
Appreciate your time, Chairman.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a nice night. Anyone else wish to testify on this application at this time? Come on up.
My name's Pam Kastner. I live at 456 Atwater Street, apartment 9, Plantsville. And I did speak briefly last time, so I'm speaking this time again because one notable thing that disturbs me is that you have no picture of what this looks like to these people. I don't even know if they've seen what this is. When I was here last time, it was up there. And I could easily show everybody that I live next to Asia in this corner.
Pam, you're speaking to us.
Oh, I'm sorry, but they need to see this too, and
It's part of the record. Anyone can go and get it either at town hall or on the internet.
But we're right here. But
Okay.
thank you, I'm speaking to
okay.
you, I understand that, thank you. Not that I really had much more to say about the absurdity of the size of this thing that they want to put in this tiny little space. I'm in the corner, directly in the corner. There is no trees like this picture shows. There's nothing. There's land. We got our little fence 10 feet from it. We're going to have that in front of us.
Pam, could you talk into the microphone so we can
Oh,
make sure we get you?
10 feet
There you
and
go.
then another
Thank
10,
you.
I guess. So we have 20 feet total. Are we safety? Is a fireman going to get behind there? If they put trees there? No. But right now, there are no trees, so this is really a false look anyways, because our apartments go right up against this building, and this picture here does not show us going right up next to that. So it's absurd that they would think to put something so unsafe in such a small space. I live next to that house, and when I come out in my backside here, and I look, there's a garage. I have a fence, and there's a garage 10 feet right there, and another garage in the house, and the land right here. It's just an L-shaped house, a couple garages. It's not a big piece of property. How are they going to fit this in? It's absurd. Where's playscapes for the children if you're going to have kids here? Where's that going to go? There's not even enough parking. That's all I got to say.
Okay, Pam, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I haven't driven to look at an approximation of where the current structure is. Approximately how far from the backside of your residence to where the current structure is? How much space is between those two, approximate?
Can I walk for a second so I can picture it in my mind? All right, I'm on my back deck. So we're
Pam, when you're talking away from the microphone, it's not being picked up, so you could do whatever you need to do.
I'm not
but
gonna
you got-
talk.
You gotta come back and,
So we're looking like 10 feet in here, another like 10 feet over in here. You're right there. This is the new facility.
let's go back to the microphone. Give me a number, Pam, please. Again, it's an approximation. I'm just,
It's even going to be closer than you. I think I'm going to be looking at closer than you.
so I would say you're maybe 20, 25 feet away from me right now.
At the most. Yeah, you're really very
Okay.
close.
Again, I'm not asking where the current or the proposed structure is. I'm
Right.
asking the current house that sits there now.
Right.
How far away from the back of your house to the backside of that house is it?
Okay.
Is it-
I have
is
a
it
fence,
20,
and then we
25
have the
feet?
garage. So yes, so where that garage sits is probably 15, 18 feet from the other side. So it's under 20 feet where that garage sits right now that I can see.
Okay,
A small garage,
Okay.
not 4 stories.
I'm gonna have to take a drive out there to take a look. But
You really should.
I appreciate your estimation, and I'm not gonna hold you to
Okay.
exactly.
Thank you
but
all.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Is there anyone else who'd like to testify on this application at this time? Come on up, sir. I will say while he's walking up here, so again, the applicants requested a continuance of 21 days, which is their prerogative. We will generally grant that. We'll deal with that later on administratively. This public hearing will be continued at the end of this evening. We're not going to be taking any action on this item this evening. We have a meeting in 2 weeks, and people will be able to come down here and provide input at that meeting as well. So, sir, with that, the floor is yours. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Juan Carlos Juarez. I am actually not living currently in Southington. I live in 81 Pershing Drive in Plainville. I am the person that is hoping to open the business across the street from the current proposal is. I wasn't aware of this proposal until recently. That was brought up to my attention. I really have looked into the area because I went to visit different sites that were open for business, and I really like the area, which I already made a contract for 5 years already. The fact that I like this place more than the others was tranquility of the area. It's nice and quiet. I was even told by some people that all these proposal will bring more business to you. I agree in a way. I could tell it might bring more business to me, but it might not. There will be more. There are some safety issues that we need to look at into this proposal, I would think. I have worked in this area for a long time. I have lived in Plainville for 20 years, and I have worked in this area over those years in different places in Plainville, Plantsville, Southington, Plantsville, Maildale. I have driven by the area quite often, I would say. There's always kids walking on their bicycles and people walking across the street, in which if you're not careful enough, there could be some serious accidents there. So I think the fact that this proposal gets accepted or gets to be built up, it would bring more traffic congestion. The kids from next door to from where I am right now with the business, it would be affected by this traffic. There will be more cars parked on the street because I believe there's no much parking proposed for this construction site. There's going to be more cars parked on the street. Will be less walking space for the kids and the families that like to walk around that area. Like I said, it might bring more business to me, but who knows? I'm looking at this issue as a safety issue more than anything else. That's all I would like to say.
Okay. Juan, I'm just curious, what kind of business are you looking to open there?
It's going to be the same as it was, breakfast and lunch place.
Okay.
It's a diner.
All right. Hold on one second.
Hi.
Commissioner Coles.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. So you did raise a concern about parking on the site, and we've talked a little bit about that there's no visitor parking planned for the site. So if you were to find that someone from the complex parked on your business property, what would you do?
Well, I will put a sign up towed at their own expense.
Okay.
Because there will be no parking for my customers.
That's a very fair answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else?
Just to follow.
Oh, Commissioner Britton.
Juan, how many parking spots will your new location accommodate?
I don't know exact number, but I would say around 25.
Yeah.
25? Okay.
Yeah, because there's some around by the houses that are behind it. There's some behind the building, and there's some like right next to the middle school.
About 40.
So there's quite a few in there.
Good. Thank you.
Hey, Juan, I love breakfast. Anyone else wish to speak on this application at this time? Okay. Attorney Gomes, please. I don't know whether it's appropriate to do it here or in the business part of the meeting, but it's all going to get tabled anyways. I just want to put it on the record. You have requested a 21-day extension on the public hearing timeline. Is that correct?
I believe it was 21 days, up to and through the July 15th meeting. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
We received that. Is there any objection from any member of the commission to that request? I don't think that there would be. So without objection, we'll grant that request.
Thank you.
Again, we'll be back here in 2 weeks to take any more public input, just like we did this evening. And then on the 15th, we'll convene again. And at that meeting, we'll lead off with the plan right now is to lead off with your responses to all the public comments that are between the last meeting and this one, and you'll be given an opportunity, of course, as typical protocol here, to respond to that and answer any questions for members of the commission. So with that, I think that we can not close the public hearing, but move on unless you have something you want to say.
I do, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
absolutely.
Again, with all due respect, I do have to put onto the record and explain to the commission why I'm here, and frankly, for the benefit of the public, why I'm here without the rest of my team. Again, for the record, Andre Gomes, counsel for the applicant. Steve Judas, our consulting civil engineer, is also here. He's actually here for other matters, but I'll give him credit for being in the room while the application is being called.
He's always here, Commissioner.
Yes, I think he's here every month anyway. As the commission knows, I did send an email through staff to the commission. We had originally requested last week, well, I'll start with this. The commission knows our public hearing opened on May 20th, so just 2 weeks ago. In the course of that lengthy public hearing, we received a significant number of comments, questions, requests for additional information, and we immediately hit the ground running, starting to address those matters, looking at revising the plans, et cetera, et cetera. As a result, I submitted last week a request, again, to Mr. LaValle, to the commission through Mr. LaValle, for a continuance of the public hearing to the July 15th meeting. Reason being that, again, June 3rd tonight would be way too soon for us to be able to submit any meaningful revisions for staff and then commission review. And unfortunately, on June 17th, a number of our team members, our experts who we need at these hearings, cannot attend. Of course, as luck would have it, this commission doesn't have an early July meeting due to the holiday. So we were therefore, again, not ideal, but being pushed to July 15th, well within the statutory time frame for this commission to evaluate and close the public hearing. Unfortunately, that application, or that request, excuse me, to continue the public hearing to July 15th was denied by you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not speaking for you, but I will say that the email is in the record, and refused our request for a continuance. This is, again, respectfully, highly unusual, and I do need to put into the record, which I did in writing for the commission, and copied the town attorney, that refusing to continue a public hearing at the applicant's request, and essentially saying that the hearing will continue with or without the applicant, is a deprivation of the applicant's right to fundamental fairness in a public hearing. There is case law on this. A case confirming this was submitted to the commission as an attachment to our email. It was also submitted again to the town attorney. I do just have to voice that for the record, but in any event, that explains why we have no additional information to present to the commission. I'm here, I'm taking notes, and again, I say this truly with all due respect. I think it was inappropriate to continue without the applicant's team here, but we're here, and should anything come up, whether it be apparently we're continuing public comment at the next meeting as well, we will do our best to address it in writing before the July 15th meeting. I will also note that my suggestion was not to foreclose public comment altogether while we were waiting for the July 15th meeting. As with any public hearing, members of the public can submit comment in writing up until the close of the public hearing, and we did offer to defer to the public, meaning the public would speak first at the July 15th meeting. So this was in no way, shape, or form an effort on the applicant's part to foreclose public comment or to be opaque and not transparent with the process. We truly just need more time to revise the plans. So with that, I thank the commission for its time, and I guess I'll be seeing you in 2 weeks.
Well, let me respond to a couple things that were said. I think that the email exchange between you and I through Dave LaValle
Yep.
really was mostly a misunderstanding. I'll take blame for that, because the way that it was presented to me and what my understanding was is that it was a request to foreclose the continuation of the public hearing. I understood later on that that isn't what you were asking for. So my intent when that request was made was that I'm not going to do that. It's our commission. We run our commission to provide an opportunity for the public to come here and provide any testimony. That's what the statute requires, as you know, and that's what I wanted to make sure that we presented every opportunity for anybody to come here and provide testimony and input on this application. The schedule on public hearing, when it starts, is set by the applicant. When you submit it, that sets a clock, as you know, a statutory clock that we all need to adhere to. I'm interested in allowing as many members of the public to come in and provide information. And again, I think it was a misunderstanding, and, people may be on vacation on July 15th. It's the middle of the summer, people are taking vacation, especially people with kids who have kids out of school, right? So I didn't want to wait to the 15th to say, well, for the next two meetings, no one's going to take any information. So, but I think at the end of the day, it all got worked out. There was no intent to push you or to not provide an extension. We get regular requests for extensions, and in the 10 years that I've sat on planning and zoning, we've never denied one. I wouldn't think that there would be any grounds to have denied this, but again, I think it was a misunderstanding. So for the record, there was no motivation by me, or I think anyone on this commission, to prevent you from what you have the right to do, to ask for a continuance, and we again granted that a couple minutes ago. So I think that speaks to the intent of the commission and the intent on this application. I appreciate that you're taking those comments, with any application. I appreciate you taking the comments that were made by members of the public. I think I counted roughly about 45 people who testified 2 weeks ago during a 4.5-hour meeting, if I remember correctly. I appreciate you taking those comments to heart. My understanding, as I said at the beginning, my understanding is that the applicant, you and the actual applicant, you're the representative, are going to make changes based on those comments. I think you just said that tonight.
Correct.
I appreciate that. We look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see what those are in July.
Okay.
And again, we'll continue this public hearing in 2 weeks. People can come if they wish to come, provide just like they did tonight. Also, as always, there's an option for people to provide written testimony, which they could provide to our planning department at any time between now and the close of the public hearing, whether that's July 15th or some other date. So, but we'll leave it at that, and we'll move on, and we'll pause this public hearing for now on items 9A and 9B, and we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good to see
Mr.
tonight.
Chairman. And just to be clear, the site plan, that is not subject to a public hearing, that will also be continued without discussion tonight to the 17th.
I understand our roles here, so.
No,
thank you.
that was a question, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to be clear.
So you want a request on an extension on a site plan as well?
The request was for all three items because
Okay.
it was a three-part application,
So we don't,
correct?
that isn't on the public hearing agenda. When we get to it, I can assure you that your 21-day extension on the site plan will be put onto the record, and we'll act on it similarly to the way that we acted on these two items tonight.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you. Moving on to items, and thank you everyone who came out on this one, and again, we'll be back here in 2 weeks on that. So anyone who's listening, or is here tonight, or you have friends who couldn't make it tonight, by all means, encourage them to come out and give us their input. So moving on to item 9C, and with the applicant's permission, I'd like to take up 9C and D jointly. Sev, you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He answered in the affirmative, so item 9C, Seb Bravino petition to change his zone district boundary from a business zone to a floating SDMU zone, which is a special design mixed-use zone, property located at 1079 Queen Street. This is currently zoned as a business zone. This is zone change 583. Item 9D, Seb Bravino special permit application to allow residential above existing retail building built prior to 1990, property located at 1079 Queen Street. This is currently zoned as a business zone, SPU 714. Mr. Bravino, name and address, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Seb Bovino, planner with Kratzer Jones, represented the applicant, which is myself tonight. I'd like to share this with the commission members. It's a key map showing the floating zone that was approved during the approval process that we went through for the tax change that took place at the end of 2024. The map that just passed to the commissioners shows the area map, and it shows the floating zone location with the actual property marked on the map so they can realize which property is. And this property is located on the east side of Queen Street, north of River Street. The property is located at 1079 Queen Street, east side of the road as indicated. It is identified as parcel 20 on the assessor's map 193. The land area is 2.1 plus minus acres. It's Zone B. This property is one that is covered by the recent text amendment for a floating zone. They are allowed mixed use of residential and business in existing buildings of 12,000 square feet or less, built prior to 1990, having a vacant or underutilized second floor. As indicated in the SDMU regulation, this is the first step in the process that we have to go through to get all the approvals. The request is to rezone this property to allow the use. The underlying zone will remain. We provided an area map showing property owners within 500 feet of the subject property, notified them via mail. We have submitted to staff proof of mailing. We have provided a property description. This building, first floor, is 11,400 square feet. I'm going to move to the building. On the cover sheet of your packet, there's a rendering of the building.
Seth, can you do me a favor? Could you maximize that so we can see it a little bit better, please? Do you know how to do that?
The whole window, Seth.
Someone might need to go over there and help them out.
The square in the upper right corner, so in the gray part.
Okay. Are other engineers going out there?
Right there?
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Good enough, thank you. The first floor is 11,400 square feet. It is occupied by retail. The second floor is vacant. It has 4,920 square feet, and the upper floor is here. We believe that it qualifies for the zone change. We submit that the granting of the change will not be injurious to the surrounding properties and will not prevent their proper development. It will provide, however, a proper use for vacant space that existed since it was constructed in 1988. Bring more activity to the site and increase the tax base. We respectfully request that you consider approving the request. And unless you have any questions, I can move on to the special permit as you requested.
Sorry, Seth. I have extreme dry mouth, so that's what the lollipop is for, to try to address that. No disrespect to anybody, except for the fact I'm trying to get my salivatory glands to start working, but
No problem.
that completes your presentation.
Pardon?
Does that complete your
For
presentation?
the zone change request, yes.
Okay, we're taking up to two items together. Do you have something else under the SPU that you want to present to us?
Yes, I asked you, Mr. Chairman, if you want, I could continue into the
Yeah,
SPU.
why don't you continue that, and then we'll open it up to comments
Yes.
and questions.
So the
Please. Thank you.
SPU is required. Again, I represent the applicant, which is myself. The property that I just described during the zone change request presentation is indicated in the set here that it's was provided. The cover sheet has the rendering of the property. This is the existing condition map, which you see the existing building here. The parking, this is Queen Street, north-south. There's parking in the front, parking on the side, and some parking in the back here. The loading zone is in the back, and most of the activity is in the front. We applied for an SPU as required in the SDMU regulations and Section 8C and 8D of the zoning regulation. We submitted the appropriate mapping, the property map and the area map, showing owners again within 500 feet, notify them, provided proof of mailing. The request is to allow the second floor of 1079 Queen Street to be used for residential purpose as provided in the regulations. We provided a set of maps, which are there on the screen. They also addresses the site plan portion of the application. Sheet C1 is the cover sheet. It has a rendering of the existing building. In the rendering, you can see the existing second floor. The existing condition map, E1, which is that one there, it's an existing condition showing the property lines, the buildings, parking, zoning tables, easements, and the traffic circulation. Most of the activity is in the front and side of the building. The rear is for loading and deliveries. And the circulation can occur if desired in this fashion. This is one way. Most of the activity takes place in the front of the building and the side. Rarely this gets used. This is, the other option is also someone can go here and go south around the 1049 building, comes back up to the curb cut on Queen Street. Sheet S1, which is the next sheet on your set, is the site plan, which shows same features as sheet E1, plus the parking table, the open space, green space required and provided, an expanded zoning table that explains how the calculation is done to determine the number of units allowed and proposed. It also addresses the calculation for the site density. We have enough land area to propose 32 units. However, as indicated during the tax change process, the number of units are dictated by the building square footage, which in this case, the first floor is 11,400 square feet, second floor is 4,920 square feet. Based on this, we are proposing 6 units. And obviously, the 6 units will be on the second floor in this area here. This is the 4,920 square feet. There's a sheet in the set labeled UL1, which is the unit layout as required by the regulations. We also have the views of the building looking north and the view of the building looking south. It's identified on this sheet here. This is where the units will be. These are the windows associated with the units. There are 2 staircases, one in the front, one in the back, internal staircases. There are 2 studio units and 4 one-bedroom units. There are 2 options that we explored, this option here and the second option. Most likely, we will go with this option. In both cases, unit number 2 and number 5, number 2 and number 5 are the affordable units. You can see that the building is a masonry building. As discussed in the text change, the commission likes to see masonry buildings with brick facade and fenestration looking toward the street and cedar siding. And that's what this building has, brick facing and cedar siding with gable ends and dormers with many windows facing the street. The side is well landscaped. Where we are adding a flowering dogwood in the front where there's enough space to add an additional tree. The lighting, the side is well lit. The lighting consists of 2 existing poles in the front. Most of the lighting is under the 6-foot wide overhang along the front of this building. This feature points the lights downward and away from the street. So this overhang here is a 6-foot overhang, and all the lights are hidden under that overhang and they point down. It really works well. At nighttime, if you drive through there, you'll see how well the area is lit. There are notes on the plans indicating that any change to the fixture has to meet the standards of the full cutoff lighting pointing down. There are, in the back of the building, there are lights under the eave of the structure, and also on each door, exit door, there's a light at the door. Regarding parking, there's plenty of parking, 51 spaces, plus there's shared parking with the property next door. There's 2 buildings here. These 2 buildings were planned together with a 1 curb cut, and there's shared parking in between them. If needed, as I indicated before, the traffic can go around the back of the building in a circular pattern. There's no dead-end situation in this proposal. The traffic can also go south around the 1049 building. This proposal will have 2 workforce housing units, as indicated, which will be restricted as required. The affordability plan is included in the packet that we submitted. It was prepared by Attorney Bailey and Jason Berardino. He's a real estate agent from Meriden. The max rental will be for the studio unit, $1,235, and the maximum rent will be $1,443 for the one-bedroom units. That's based on the 80% of the income. We received comments from staff, responded in writing. We hope that you consider approving the special permit and the zone change, and eventually we'll talk about the site plan, which is basically similar description. Any questions at this time?
Okay. Thank you, Steph. Any questions, Mr. Bravino, from members of the commission? Commissioner Woloski, go ahead.
So you said 2 studio, 4 one-bedroom?
Yes.
So you're expecting 6 to 10 residents? I mean, I know you
Yes,
can't
yes.
guarantee.
The parking space is 1.5 per unit, so nine
So
parking
there's
spaces.
Designated parking for
Yes.
these units. And in the rear? I would
No,
assume?
they'll be on the side of the building.
Side.
Yeah, and the side of the building here. And in the front will be, some will be parked in the front. These parking will be for employees, for the business that operate from the, in the front of the building here. The employees park here.
This isn't really a question, it's more of a statement. I'm kind of just surprised to not see your test case presentation being the first application before us. This is a different property than what you presented to us previously, so it's just a little, just
The other one
putting
is
that
for-
out there. That I'm surprised that property, being the blight, wasn't developed first, but that's not.
That one takes more work and it's coming up.
All right.
He's giving us a preview.
Right.
You all
I
set,
hope
Steve?
so,
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
You all set, Steve?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Seb, what is the buffer right now between the building structure and Quinnipiac River? Is it a fence? I couldn't tell.
Right here, from the building to the river is probably, let's say, 40 feet or so.
40 feet?
Yeah. Okay. That's at the closest point right here. Then, as you can see, the river meanders and then comes down.
Is that a natural buffer, or is there a fence there? Yeah.
It's a natural buffer, and there's a guardrail, steel guardrail around the river here at the top of slope. There's guardrail.
You all set? Commissioner Coles?
Hey, Seb. So these are studios and one-bedrooms. Do you anticipate any children being here?
Pardon?
Do you anticipate any children living here?
No.
No? So there's not going to be any playground or anything out here? We're not expecting any school
There is
bus?
there's a green space, but we don't expect children.
We don't expect any buses to be servicing this area for school?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You all set?
Yep.
Commissioner Kier?
Thank you. Hi, Seb. Do we know the operating hours of the businesses below these units, by any chance?
Yeah, they normally operate at 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night.
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
very much. Thank you, Mr.
You
Chair.
all set?
Mhm.
Commissioner Gaia?
Hi. So just to piggyback off of Commissioner Coles, if there's going to be no children here, does this mean it's age restricted?
These are age restricted, 2 units.
Okay, so.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, not age restricted, no age restricted. These
then
are-
in theory, kids
these
could live
are, workforce housing, 2 units.
Okay, but kids could still live there if there's no age restriction?
They could, yes. If someone has a child, they could, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other member of the commission have any questions? So if I'm understanding correctly, 6 total units, 2 of those would be set aside as affordable units, which equals, if my math is correct, roughly about a third of the,
33.3%.
which qualifies you under 830G, my friend. But we appreciate you helping us inch that number as a regulation, or we debated that. It was an issue that we brought up, and I appreciated you doing that, and I appreciate that you actually exceed the number that we require, I think. So that's all good. Just for the record, I'm going to turn to our staff and ask them if their questions have been answered to their satisfaction.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I am.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so both have responded in the affirmative. With that, I don't have any other questions. So if you want, I'm sorry, Dave?
Just have one comment.
Oh.
Outside of my purview was, the health department did give a verbal, but if it does move forward in the business portion, we just stipulate that we get the written comments from them. So verbal approval, but nothing written so far.
Okay, okay. Did you hear that, Seb?
We did get a letter from the health department. Yeah, it was received, I believe, today. David, did you receive it?
No, I didn't get it.
Okay.
Did
But,
you-
yeah, you can stipulate to get a
Could
letter.
you just make sure, I mean, we may stipulate it, but if
Yeah.
it's already taken care of, then I don't think it's an issue if we end up approving it. If you could just make sure that Dave gets a copy of that, which I would think the health
Yes.
department would send it to you directly anyways, but, okay.
Was sent today by Scott.
Okay.
I'm going to assume it's in his inbox, he just hasn't gotten to
yeah.
it. But, okay, if you're done, we'll open it up to members of the public to offer comment, and then if need be, you can come back up and
Thank you.
respond to those. So thank you. At this time, if there's anyone who would like to testify on this on either of these two agenda items, please come up to the podium. Again, start with your name and your address, and share your thoughts with us, please. Hi.
Hello, how are you? My name is Peter DiClementi. I have property in Plantsville, 306 Clark Street, 1608 Clark Street. Thank you for bringing that up. I said the same thing about Sev. Why don't you bring my application up before yours? No. But on our side, it's architectural, it's trying to get it right, stuff like that. So we're almost ready to present, but thank you. I like to say that I obviously speak for the proposal. I mean, driving up Queen Street and looking around, we all know how busy it is on, the Golden Mile. And then going into Plainville, I think we talked about this with the special permit situation. It just, that needs a little boost in the arm up there. And I think if you have an investor like Sev that's going to put money into the space and make it, bring some more income to the town, bring some vitalization back to that space, I'm all for it. I don't see anything wrong with it. Obviously, with single units, like you said, 2 workforce housing and 4 single bedrooms. So, and right now that second floor is unutilized, so I think it's a good use for the space. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Peter. Any questions of Peter from members of the commission? I look forward to seeing your application at some time soon, so.
Coming soon.
But that's beside the point, so.
Thank you.
Okay, any other member of the public who wishes to offer? Regina? Oh? That's okay. Well, here, why don't we let Regina talk, and then you can go, sorry.
Regina Coviello, 12 Beecher. Real quick, sounds good, and it will help the affordable housing. Every little number will help. Okay, thanks.
Any questions of Ms. Coviello? You're walking away too quick, Regina. So, no, thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. Good to see you again. Sir? Yeah, come on up.
Name is Kenneth Labby. I work on behalf of an owner in town of commercial property. I'm not a resident of Southington, but I was told that as a representative of the owner that I could speak. Is that accurate?
Sir, anyone could speak at a public hearing, but again, I didn't get your name or your address. Could you
Oh,
give that to
Kenneth
us?
Labby, 1173 Queen Street,
Okay.
Southington. So it's funny, I feel like a longtime member of the community because back in the 80s, I'm not going to date myself, but I used to do lawn care down Merida Waterbury Turnpike and up to Marion Avenue, I think it was. And more recently, well, I've been involved in commercial real estate for about 40 years, about 35 years, finance, construction, brokerage. And my really only comment is that you play a very important role in the real estate community because properties like this have, they have, I'm trying to think of the word for it, systemic vacancy and underutilization that can't be put into place unless the zoning board and the community supports the reuse plan. And that's really my main point. I think Mr. Pavino did a great job. If you don't vote positively as a community and as a board on the plans like this, you've got a systemic vacancy that really is it's a blight even though you can't see it. And if you go to market a property like this, the owner can't realize it. So really, that's my point. You know, you play a very big role. You know, we spoke with Mr. Pavino earlier. We were asked to come and give testimony. That's what the reason for my, my comments.
Okay. Thank you, Keith, for coming out. Any questions, Keith?
Ken? Yep.
Okay. No? Okay, thank you. Appreciate your input. Any other member of the public who'd like to provide testimony on this at this time? I will say that we do have a letter of support that's on file right now from the law offices of Fury, Donovan, Cooney, and Dyer, which is located in Bristol, Connecticut. So, and they are speaking on behalf of their client, which is Southington West, located at 714 to 748 West Street. Again, it's on the record. It's a letter of support. Okay. Sev, I don't know that there's much for you to respond to, but of course, as typical, you have the floor. You can say whatever you want to before we look to quite possibly close the public hearing on this one.
I just want to introduce the letter from the Health Department. I want to give it to Dave.
Okay.
I have a-
Yeah, you could, anything else? Okay. Is there any objection? Do you have any objections to closing the public hearing on these two items? No? He stated there's no objection. He wasn't by the microphone, but I want to say that. Is there any objection from any member of the commission for closing the public hearing on these two items? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on those two items and move on to item 9E, HQ Realty LLC, special permit application proposing to permit multiple buildings on one parcel per section 9.c.5 of the zoning regulation, property located at 136 Curtis Street. This is an I-2 zone, SPU 712. Mr. Judas, the floor, sir, is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and commission members. For the record, my name is Stephen Judas with the Office of Cole Civil and Survey, located at 876 South Main Street in Plantsville. I'm here tonight on behalf of HQ Realty LLC. Is that better? Hopefully that's good. We're here tonight for property located at 136 Curtis Street. This is property owned by the applicant, HQ Realty LLC. It's a 20.5 acre parcel of property zoned I2, Industrial 2. This property is abutted by residential homes to the west along here. We have the linear trail to the east. We have additional residential homes on the south side and additional industrial zone property to the north. R12, R2025, I2, and B zones all about our property. This property is serviced by public water and public sewers, and we also have a CLMP easement that runs through our parcel kind of in this vicinity here, but I'll show that a little clearer on another slide. There's an existing building located at the front of the property at this location that is proposing to remain on site. This property has had historically many different uses. It's always been primarily used for outside storage on site. Previously, this commission denied an application for a zone change in a site plan for an ARC-Z 55+ development on this site. Deciding that our residential use wasn't in the best interest of the town of Southington, and then consequently approved a subdivision application for a 12-lot industrial subdivision with a 1,400-foot town-owned roadway. I believe that approval has expired at this point in time. Tonight, we're here per section 9.c.5. The applicant is requesting permission to allow multiple principal buildings on one parcel. And this regulation states that no lot shall be occupied by more than one permanent or permitted principal building. But in the case of public, institutional, commercial, or industrial building, A group of separate buildings under the same ownership or under different ownership in the case of common interest development may be considered as occupying the same lot if, in the opinion of the Planning and Zoning Commission, following a public hearing by special permit, such buildings and uses are deemed compatible. So that's why we are here under special permit. To develop the site as an I-2 use with one building, we'd have a pretty large building. We just felt that splitting it up would be in the best interest for the town and the applicant. So our application tonight is a special permit use on the site to allow for multiple buildings on one parcel, multiple principal buildings on one parcel. I do have just some quick slides of the previous, this is the survey of the property. We can see the boundary outlined here. This is the area of the CLMP easement, the existing building at this location, and the trails that run through here. Topography runs generally from the west to the east and generally drains towards a wetland location in the southeast corner. I also just printed out for reference the plans by my friendly competitor Sev for the subdivision. There was a town road that ran through here, and there were lots along this property, and then some other additional lots in the back. And I had just included those just so the commission can see what the previously approved subdivision included as far as the buildings and parking, and the size of those buildings out through the rear of the property to the cul-de-sac and up in the back corner. I also poked around a little bit. I'm going to skip through these to give you an example of some examples of multiple buildings on one parcel. I don't think anyone on the commission was here for the Riverstone Square original approval. But as you know, now we have a pretty nice development with 3 buildings across from Oak Hill Cemetery that originally had been designed on that site for one big building. We felt 3 smaller buildings would fit in better with the area and provide some diversity. And the owner did a really nice job with that property, and pretty proud to be involved in that one. This property is the Alzheimer's Center. I know they have a new name, but you can see we have multiple buildings on this property, and this is another example of sites that required this special permit approval. This is Clock Tower Square, which is in downtown Plantsville. We have multiple buildings. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 buildings that was developed by Lovely Development Association with the town of Southington owned property. And I think the last one I have one more. This is the Denny's Plaza here with the D'Angelo's and the motel in the back. And then just a mini storage building on the corner of West Queen Street and West Street, just to give the commission an idea of the types of applications that come in under this regulation. So from our perspective, this commission has previously determined that 12 buildings were acceptable for this parcel by way of subdivision. The applicant is proposing to develop the site in a slightly different manner with a maximum of 12 buildings. Right now, this layout shows 11. This would be developed as an industrial common interest community, basically a condominium that the owners would own their buildings and the property around their building, and they would all be responsible for the overall property and the main driveway and the utilities that run in through the site, similar to any multifamily condominium type development that you might see. All would be serviced by a private driveway that we're proposing to bring in right next to the building and go down the center with a little cul-de-sac in the back. It would all be privately owned and privately maintained. And all maintenance would be done by the individual owners and the association. From this point, if accepted, the applicant would, we have submitted site plans for the first 3 buildings, I believe. I have that in my slides as well. And we would come back before this commission on a building per building basis to review each building and each site plan associated with the building as we went forward. So this would come back to you every time that we wanted to add another building or two. All proposed uses would be permitted by I2 zone. Anything that's permitted would be what's proposed here. And each plan, as I mentioned, would come back before the commission for approval. If an individual use required an SPU, then we would come back with an SPU for that particular use. If for some reason that use kicked that requirement, that would be back before you for a review as well. The traffic would be consistent with the approved subdivision. We did have Scott Hesketh do a review, and I believe we submitted that report, but I'm a little scatterbrained right now. I'd have to check with Dave LaValle and see if he has it. If he doesn't have it, I will get it into him for review. But our square footages on these buildings are actually smaller than what was originally proposed on the subdivision. So we can testify to you that the traffic would be less than what was originally proposed for the site. We also did move the site entrance driveway to this location here closer to the existing building, and that allowed us to get proper site distances better than the site distances that were utilized under the proposed roadway that was accepted. The roadway couldn't get that close to the building as part of a subdivision, but as part of our site plan and this multiple buildings in one parcel, we were able to accommodate that. The concept plan before you, the master plan, proposes 50-foot buffers along the residential uses and zones along the northerly property lines. It does narrow down to about 35 feet in this location, which is permitted. Your regulations require a 35-foot buffer for I2 zones with public sewer and public water. So most of this buffer is above and beyond what is required by the regulations along in this area as well. We've done stormwater management area. We've done some preliminary layouts, and then we have a designed for the first section that we're proposing as part of our site plan. And as you see, most of the buildings here are going to be constructed on speculation or with specific users. Right now, our site plan that's submitted includes this building, and this building, and then the existing structure here. However, this is the building that we have a user that would like to move forward on that building. Our request from you is to consider this application. We believe it's a good site for this type of use. We think it will fill the site up, and it'll be able to be developed in an orderly manner. That will be a nice addition to the town. But also will allow the applicant some flexibility as he works with users to allow us to, if someone wants a larger building, these are laid out approximately 5,000 square feet with just two 10,000 square foot buildings in the back. But if this user wanted a 10,000, we could combine these into one building. So our max building would be 12, but most likely will be less than that when it all comes before you. Flexibility is really what we're trying to get here, and reduction of the need for town services for plowing the road and maintaining the road and things like that. When we do subdivisions with individual lots, they're great, but they can create unforeseen restraints when it comes to developing that lot. And sometimes we have to take a user that wants to be here and move them to somewhere else, because once that boundary is set on that lot line, it's difficult to change things. So this gives us the flexibility of having one parcel that we can move things around on if need be, all with your permission. They will all come back before you for permission if we move things around. And it also gives an association responsible for maintaining the roads, maintaining the buffers, and a centralized contact point if there's any concerns or issues with the property or from the surrounding owners. We feel that this provides a better product for the end user here and for the surrounding area. So the other thing, I know I've said it 5 times already, but I just want to reiterate, you will review, approve, or deny each building site plan as it comes before you. So this is just the first step. And really the reason we're here really is because we'd like to put more than one principal building on the property. And as you can see, that's done in town quite a bit. And we'd like to be able to do it here.
Okay.
I know there's been a lot of history on this piece, and I think I think moving this forward gives us an opportunity to start hopefully putting some of those concerns to rest.
Okay.
So I will open it up to the floor and
Okay.
step back.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
no, let's
Oh,
stay up there
you
for
got
a
questions for me?
minute. Members of the
I was
commission,
trying to get
any-
away.
Commissioner Walowski.
How you doing tonight, Steve?
Good, yourselves?
So, what, you were saying, so 12,000 would be the maximum in
No,
terms of...
12 buildings would be the maximum.
You
12
said 10,000 square feet?
What we have on this plan right here is we have 5,000 square foot pads, and we have two 10,000 square foot pads. I'd hate to just cut it to a max square footage size, because I don't know what the user would be. You know, if we were going to combine some of these areas, we could put a 10 or a 12 or a 15,000 square foot building. So the buildings that we're proposing tonight on a part of our site plan are just 5,000 square foot
Right, so, but
buildings.
if you went to a 15,000 square foot, that would reduce the number of buildings.
It would, it would reduce our area to work with, yes, yeah.
Right, and then each, and forgive me if you've said this, I'm just trying to keep it straight.
Yep.
Each building is going to be single occupant.
Right. I don't know if it'll be a single occupant. I mean, sometimes the owner will build a building and they will utilize a portion of the building and they will want to sublet the other portion of the building. Each building will be self-sufficient from a parking and loading dock perspective.
Okay.
But I
So
think.
it's possible that there could be two garage doors and two separate businesses working within
One building,
within
yes.
one building.
I think that's pretty common. you
No,
know.
and that, I'm just
Yep.
asking you to talk me through it, yeah.
Yes, yes, that is a possibility, yes.
All right. That's all I have for now. Thanks.
You all set? Commissioner Britton?
Steve, what's going to be the future plans for the current outdoor storage? I kind of feel like you were alluding to that in your comments, that might be cleaned up.
Yes, I think as we progress with this, that area will get smaller and smaller, and there will be some proposed outside storage on the site. As we, one of the benefits of an I2 zone is that you are permitted to do outside storage, so it's very desirable in town to find I2 property, because you can do outside storage. But as we come in with each site plan, we can identify the areas where the outside storage is going to be for the commission to accept.
Thank you.
You all set? Commissioner Coles?
Hi, Steve.
How you doing, Caleb?
Fantastic. So this is essentially going to be a condo association of industrial buildings.
Yes, sir.
So in a condo association, typically, you would have your own bylaws, correct?
Yes, sir.
So in this, those bylaws would not only talk about like what your dues is, or what is that called, your HOA fees?
HOA, yeah.
But it would also discuss site management, like your responsibilities for your building and the site around it.
Right, yes.
So for something like this, has draft language already been written for that agreement?
No, it just hasn't, because I guess we wanted a feel from the commission as to, do you think this is an acceptable use for this property, before we, hire a lot of attorneys to do that stuff,
I get that, but I think, since we're going from formally, and you discussed it, a subdivision plan with each individual place to one big thing, and what happens when we make this decision, how the whole site is going to be maintained instead of individual parcels. And so I think because there's so many buildings, I just have some questions. I mean, not necessarily questions, but I think that would be a great opportunity to, given the history of the site and the challenges to outdoor storage, seeing something in writing and saying, oh, geez, this is what the association expects of the occupants or the association.
Mhm.
I think that would be helpful in trying to identify how well this could be managed.
I'm sure we could come up with some draft language for you. Yeah, it's kind of I hear what you're saying. I think, I'd like to be able to come in with the site plans, so you guys kind of get see what each individual built, and right now, we don't have the users for the buildings. You know, some buildings may not need any outside storage, and some users may want outside storage. As far as the, you know, maintenance of the roadways, the maintenance of the green spaces, the common areas, you know, that's the type of thing that I think that we would have in the bylaws. And I don't see a problem, you know, it's going to be very similar to a residential condominium bylaw as far from a maintenance perspective. It's just going to be geared towards industrial users, so it'll be a little different. You know, the intent is to have a nice development with good users and good neighbors.
Okay. All right, and then I guess I think site plan is, and the business meeting, so I can ask specific questions about that later.
Well, I mean, you can bring it up now.
You can bring it up
If
now
Steve's
if you
comfortable
want, yeah.
answering it, then, you know.
The site plan that was submitted was, it was really just, like I said, the first, the existing building and then these 3 buildings here. We proposed to stop the driveway at this location, and the sewer and water and services would come through this driveway. And then we have a stormwater management area at this location here to handle the runoff from those improvements.
So my question then, if I'm going to jump ahead, would be, you have a planting schedule for the front of the property. That third building is the one that's already been spoken for that we're looking to build.
Yep.
As this opens up. But there's no, at least maybe I'm missing it, if there's no planting schedule there. I know that the buffer is there, the 50-foot buffer, but is there a planting schedule to do some vegetative buffering in between, or within that 50-yard buffer?
So we were proposing to utilize the natural trees and so on in that area. Typically, what we incorporate into our plan set is that any thin areas in that buffer, you know, if the town staff thinks that we need to supplement, then we will supplement with evergreens or something that will grow in that area. So we can, I believe that we have that on our plans, but we can add that to our site plan to do that.
I think that would be helpful for me to see if there is thin spots.
If you look at this one here, we filled it, on the plan calls it out to fill it in because we know we're missing some landscaping in that area. So, and same with down in this area, even though the applicant owns this house, technically, we're supposed to have a buffer around that property. So those are areas that don't have any existing vegetation, so that's why we added that to the plan. But anywhere that it needs additional buffering, then we will incorporate that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
I'll
Chair.
say, Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good, yourself?
Good. So kind of, I think, building off of what Caleb was saying, excuse me, sir. Do you have a plan for any like consistent aesthetics for any of these buildings, since it's kind of like, to your point, like a condo association?
I think that, you know, what you're going to see is pretty typical for an industrial metal building. You know, some of them, it will really depend on, as far as door locations and things like that, will really be dependent on the user. I can tell you, like, this building right here is really going to just have doors on the front of it. It's going to be built into grade because this slopes up. So the back walls of this building will actually be retaining walls. So that building will just have access from the front, and then around the back side, it'll be up around almost at the roof height. So that building will kind of be set into the slope there. But I don't have a lot of specific architecture other than what we typically show. I can give you something, but it's going to be basically the same metal buildings that you see in all the, you know, Captain Lewis Drive and the other industrial drive and things like that. It's pretty consistent, and the users, obviously, they're trying to build something nice and proud of, but they also have to be conscious of the cost. So
Makes sense. I appreciate it.
Those okay?
All good.
Commissioner Gaida?
Hi, how are you?
good, yourself?
Good. So just to clarify, this is going to be industrial use, so there won't be any retail shops in there?
Commissioner Gaida, can you get closer to the microphone, please?
Just to clarify, there won't be, this is for industrial use, so there won't be any retail space in there? There won't be bakeries or medical office buildings, things of that nature?
Your industrial regulations do permit some retail uses, and I think bakeries do fall under industrial regulations. So the things that are permitted in an I2 zone is what we would propose to do here.
Okay. And then in terms of the area, if I'm thinking of where this is this near the Quinnipiac River, the area that always floods by Art Rich?
Right in this area here. This is the Quinnipiac River, yep.
Is that concerning at all?
No, we're completely outside of the flood zone on this property with this proposal.
Okay, thank you.
You all set, Chris?
Yes.
Yep. Any other questions for members of the commission? Without objection, Commissioner Wolowski for a second time?
I just had a quick
Yes.
follow-up. In regards to the outdoor storage, just kind of walk me through what you have in mind with that, trucks, trailers, potentially, not storage units or bulk piles or anything like that?
I think that, like our proposal for site plan, we're not proposing any outside storage with these three buildings. If for some reason we had a user that asked for outside storage, then we would come back with a site plan modification to request that. I think that if we were going to go with a bulk storage type of situation, then we would propose bins and so on to present before the commission. I think that
Again,
one of the
that would
things
be on the
we
site
want to
plan.
do is be able to come back and let you vet out each user as they come on board. And if someone needs outside storage, then we will vet it out with you.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
All set, Steve? Any other questions, a member of the commission, to the applicant at this time? Okay, Steve, I have a couple.
Okay.
I've been following this property for a while, as you probably know.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the buffer right now, the proposed buffer up here. If you can go up to the slide 7, which is the previous slide.
Yep.
Could you bring up slide 7, please? Right above there. Yeah, okay. So along these areas, as you stated and are aware, because these are residential zoned areas, our regulations require between a 35 and 50-foot buffer
Yes,
between that and this property, which is I-2.
Right.
Do you have any idea what the current buffer is in along those borders today?
We actually staked the 50-foot line in through there. So the areas that it's under 50 are the areas where those green circles are. We're proposing to add additional landscaping per this plan.
Okay, so let me make sure that I understood what you just said. This area up here, as well,
So-
let me finish.
Yeah,
okay?
go ahead.
This area up here currently meets the requirement under the regulation. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes and no. It does, but it's within a CLMP easement, so we were restricted from planting
Okay.
anything that's going to go
Okay.
up. And
Understood. And these other areas along here are not currently adhering to the regulation. Is that accurate, or?
no, I think
Help me
that
out.
these areas are natural wood line that is preserved, that we would preserve as part of our plan. And then the areas that are less than 50 out there, we would supplement. And any area along that 50, if we're happy to have Mr. LaValle or Mr. Norris, if they see an area that they think needs supplemental trees or landscaping, we will incorporate additional buffers in those
Okay.
areas.
Now, listen, I understand that the current owner of the property inherited this issue.
You did.
So I appreciate that there's a acknowledgement that it is an issue. I've heard from several residents throughout these neighborhoods with regards to that issue. The other issue I hear about is lighting. As you're aware, we have a zero spillover lighting regulation as part
Yes,
of this
sir.
proposal. I'm not sure, again, whether it currently is in compliance. From what I hear, and I'm sure members of the public will speak to this, it may not be. And again, I acknowledge that some of that was inherited, and I get it. Under this proposal, will zero lighting be incorporated as part of the site plan on this as well?
Yes, all these buildings will have to comply, and our driveways will have to comply with full cutoff, zero encroachment, dark sky compliant lighting, yes.
So what you're proposing, if I can phrase it in my own words and ask if this is accurate, what you're proposing would enhance the property and address a number of the concerns with regards to buffer and lighting at its conclusion, if you will.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I have no other questions. Unless there's any other questions from any other members of the commission, we'll open it up to members of the public. And then, of course, Steve, as usual, you'll be able to come back up and respond to anything that's said. So with that, anyone, let's start off as we typically do. Anyone who's in favor or wants to testify in favor of this proposal, please come up to the podium, state your name and your address, and please share your thoughts with us. It's a long day for you, Lou.
You too, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. My name is Lou Perillo. I'm Town of Southington's Economic Development Director. The application before you, I know it's challenging for the residents around there, but the facts are you represent a town of over 43,000 people. Our town has a need for heavy industrial services. Nobody wants anything in their backyard. There are a lot more egregious uses that could be here that are allowed by regulation. 50% lot coverage, a lot of outside storage, some noise emitting processes could be allowed through the commission. I think when you look at multiple buildings on one large parcel, I think you could set it up for a better community to be near, as opposed to one large building or significant amount of outside storage and other uses that are allowed in an I-2. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but that's what the facts are if you follow the regulations. If you look at many of our I-2 spaces, they're actually decent neighbors. I actually grew up with a factory in my backyard. No weekend work. Off of Beecher Street, it was Mill Machine. A lot of these will probably be used for trades and renting out. So if you look on Lazy Lane, I think we have a 22-unit building, and then there's another building being built on a separate lot in front. There is some outside storage, vehicle storage, construction equipment. Our town has a need for it. And if you look at Supreme Forest Products, how they came in, you can get rid of stumps. It's very green, the recycling. We did food waste to energy, a lot of anxiety before the commission about, how it would transfer. But I think sometimes if you look at the placement of the buildings, and they may change, larger buildings, they can actually shield the residents from some of the activity. So, I think some of the question is, we have an approved subdivision. It's not really feasible from a financial perspective unless you get grants to put in the road. You don't really yield what could be yielded for the best benefit of the town, not only from taxes, but from the services generated from these businesses. We have a high demand, we just have nowhere to put them. And when you look at it, I'm very supportive of this because the use is there, and the town needs some of these services that this can support. Don't know where else you could put I-2. We've tried, we've looked, nobody wants it. It is existing, it is valuable, and the town needs it. So a lot more egregious uses could be there. You have chances before you for the individual site plans to make modifications and whatnot. So that's why I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. Any questions for members of the commission to Mr. Perillo? Thanks for coming out, Lou. Always good to see you. Have a great night. Anyone else who'd like to testify in favor of this application at this time? Regina, you should just sit up in the front row. We'll save you, but good for you for getting your steps in, I guess, on the positive. Just while she's walking up here, I'm just going to let people know that it's 9 o'clock shortly. Typically, what we do after 2 hours is to take a bathroom break. Before we get to the other side of the coin on this application, my intent is to do that. Just seems like a good place to break, and then we'll take like a 5 or 10 minute bathroom break. But with that, Regina, floor is yours, ma'am.
Yep, Regina Coviello, 12 Beecher Street, and I didn't know about any of the other stuff. I came for the first. As far as this, it comes down to me is someone owns that property. They should be able to do something as long as it fits with whatever your rules and regulations are. they should be able to do something. And if other properties in town have been able to, then so should they. Just kind of fair to everyone.
Regina, any questions of Ms. Coviello? Okay, thanks for coming out, Regina. Anyone else who'd like to testify in favor of this application at this time? Okay, seeing none, as I said, I want to take a bathroom break, give people an opportunity. I know I need one, and I don't want to miss anything that's going to be said. It's 9 o'clock right now. Let's reconvene at 9:10, and we'll go right into anyone else who'd like to testify on this one. Thank you. Order, please. Everyone can take a seat. All right, at this time, again, we're still on item 9E, HQ Realty LLC. I want to open up the floor to anyone who'd like to testify in opposition to this application. Again, please come up to the podium, start with your name and address, and please share your thoughts with us. Is there anyone who'd like to testify in opposition to this application, please?
Hello, everyone. I'm Vincent Paulus. I'm at 112 Knollwood Road, and my watch has warned me twice about my heart rate, so I apologize. Try to keep it cool. So my house isn't on this map. We are to the top right, just out of it, so right out of view. But what I'll say about that is we heard how Lazy Lane has been such a success story with the zoning. But you can see the pile of trash and oiled things and equipment that are visible from all of our neighbors' backyards, and we hear all hours of the night trucks idling, and everything going on over there. So now with this development, we're looking at more buildings, as you've talked about the lighting and whatever. I didn't even think of that, but the concern about what hours these are operating. You've talked about a bakery that, has a 5 a.m. start time, trucks, whatever coming out of there. And then the closest to the properties, there's not as much of an incline as you may think if you see the property. Like right now, driving up Curtis, you can see the entire, where it's already been cleared. And then from their backyards on Ivy, you can see and hear everything going on down there. I don't take lightly the, it could be worse defense. Like the other multiple buildings plots that he showed, the one thing that was lacking in each one of those was a residential area. Not one of them is near a residential area. And this is an established residential area. And what I'll say is, and I'm sure you guys are aware, I think it's a little unscrupulous that he talked about, well, we don't need the buffer down there because they already own that property. And as you talked about the outside storage, they already have a boat and other things stored outside. As you're going up Queen Street, Curtis Street, with the vehicles coming out of there and what it leaves on the street, what those trucks leave on the street. And there's bus stops right there. There's at least 4 bus stops from the bottom of that hill to Ivy Drive. So they've already purchased that house. They've purchased, so now up where that, in the top right, where the bigger building is, the 10,000 square feet, I believe that this company is closing on the house on the left. And they approached the owner on the right in the house that just went up for sale. So my guess would also be at some point you're going to be looking for an approval to put, there's like a half-finished roadway there, of maybe putting a driveway there to have an exit, like a rear exit for this neighborhood, which at that point would again spill into a residential area. Now, that's just a hypothetical, but otherwise, why are you buying those houses? Right, so you have the one house, and like I said, the second one is up for sale, but the guy that was gonna sell it is selling it because if this goes through, what it does to property values and seeing from their house, but at the same time, I don't know if he has to disclose that, but who's going to want to buy that? The person that's going to want to buy it is the person that's going to benefit from having it and being able to use that property at some point. So we have plenty of people here to speak. I thank you for your time.
Vince, we might have some questions.
Sure.
Can I get your address again? I'm sorry.
112 Knollwood Road.
Knollwood Road?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's basically Ivy Drive. Like my house is on the corner of Ivy and Knollwood.
Got it. Any questions of Vince for members of the commission? Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember your exact words, that this might be an improvement, but maybe not enough an improvement in your opinion.
No.
Okay. Refresh my memory.
No, I said nothing. Like
Okay.
I think I understand, like, and we've only, we've lived here for 15 years. And what I'll say is, like, when the electric company cleared out that area, like, right away we went from hearing nothing at night to now I hear everything on Queen Street. And this is going to make that even worse. When they built up the Lazy Lane side, right, and I'm up late, I'm up early, I hear trucks outside idling anywhere from 11 o'clock to midnight, 12:30 to 5 a.m. Trucks are out there idling, they're slamming their gates, they're, again, just business, what a truck would do. But I can say that, just what we've seen now on that HQ site and the outside storage, again, the reasons why they need those houses on the side are because the people that are seeing this stuff, like the trees, the dirt, the this, the that, it used to be, it used to be far more of a residential area even than what we're seeing now, the changes that we've had the last 2 years.
This particular piece of property.
Yep.
Are you aware that it predates our zoning regulations? 100%. Okay.
Yeah, no,
so-
I've talked to a couple of
I say that
builders.
because it's been industrial for.
Yep.
Before the town adopted any zoning
Yep.
regulations. To your point about them buying up properties, so long as the property is zoned as a residential, for example, this piece of property right here, which was bought up, I think, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, even though they own that, the requirement for a buffer, which is, the buffer is intended to provide some measure of tranquility between the industrial operations and the residential areas. Even though they own that piece of property, it doesn't relieve them of the requirement to provide the buffer per our regulations.
Well, what I would.
So whether they buy this or they buy this whole neighborhood, it doesn't matter. The buffer is still required between the industrial zone line, on the industrial zone line for that matter, on their property, between them and the residential zone. Do you understand that?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
what I would say about owning that property, when they've had dirt spill over and trees in the other, like, that goes against the residential zoning of that house, but who's going to complain about that? They own the property, so nobody there is going to complain about it.
Well, we do have a zoning enforcement officer, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, with regards to an issue that came up, who does drive around regularly, and if he were to see that, or anybody, I could drive by there, I could see it, and I can call into town hall and make a formal complaint, which is the standard operating procedure.
Did he happen to
for
see
type
that?
of stuff. I don't know. I mean, if you see it, I would encourage you
Okay.
to go down to town hall or call town hall and let them know, and they'll send someone out there. And again, the way it happens is that the zoning enforcement officer follows that up with a letter of violation, and then it's up to the property owner to rectify that. But, our zoning enforcement officer is one person. He tries to do a lot of different things, and I'm sure his day is chock full of business. He's got a pretty big town to cover, so he can't be all eyes. So, if you see a violation, then, by all means, I would encourage you to call them up and let them know. Maybe they know about it, maybe they don't. But if you call up, then they do know about it, right? So.
Yeah, I would just say, like you said, they are one person, and forcing a residential area to live with that for however long it's going to take them to send some letters, be delayed, whatever, as we've been delayed with this hearing for several weeks. We'll see.
Let me
I
sort of
appreciate
jump-
the advice now.
Yeah, anytime. And my number's in the book. You can, 203-605-2604. Call me anytime, and I'm happy to talk to you about any of this. Outside of the public hearing not being, I can't talk about an application
Sure.
that's active in public hearing, but aside from that, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's something called chemo brain. I think I might have some of that, but maybe I'll capture it later on with somebody else. But any other questions of Vince from members of the commission? Okay.
And very quickly, what I will say is this was a residential area of mostly original owners. And in the 15 years we've been there, we've seen this neighborhood turning over to having 0 kids on the street to having 16 children on the street. Like, it's kind of been revitalized and coming around again with new people moving in and whatnot, and I'd hate to see that stuttered.
Okay.
Thank you
I
very
appreciate
much.
that because I recalled what I was going to ask you. If we were to attach a stipulation on any approval of this application that would necessitate bringing the site into compliance with current zoning regulations prior to any other activity, any other buildings being built, so the buffer gets restored, lighting, again, we have a 0 lighting requirement, which means that lighting from your property can't spill over to another property. If we were to stipulate that to the satisfaction of the town planning department, who oversees our zoning regulations and enforcement of that, would that make this a more acceptable proposal in your opinion?
I don't believe so because, like I said, I'm on the outskirts of this, but I see how it intrudes in my space. I'm sure it's tenfold for the other people you're going to hear from here tonight. And as you said, like the light things and all that's already happening. That's, like you said, bringing it into compliance. You told me to report stuff and they'll get on it. We already know, and you've already just stated, it's not in compliance now. So what makes you think that that's even going to happen? Or, okay, if we're going to get it in compliance, to then move forward to put all that at risk again. Like, I just, again, I want to see the integrity of a residential area kept. As I said, that's what all the other, and I get our town needs a bunch of different things, but what was lacking in all those other pictures was residential area, residential housing.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I didn't say it was out of compliance. The applicant admitted that currently they lack full compliance, so, which is what the question that I asked.
Sure. Well,
And
just
he affirmed that, so.
in general, that, yeah, it's not in compliance. And I can't tell you when the last time it was. You guys would probably know
Yeah.
better than I would.
I don't know. In fairness to the current owner, they did inherit a lot of these issues from when they bought it, but that's just being fair to them. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't be bringing it into compliance, but Vince, I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Thank you for your time,
Nice
everybody.
to see you, and thank you again for sharing your thoughts with us.
you.
Anyone else who'd like to testify in opposition, come on up. Again, start with your name and your address, please.
Anna Wróblewski, 58 Ivy Drive.
Your address again?
58 Ivy Drive.
Okay.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my concerns about the new development on
Can you get a little bit closer to the mic or bring the mic maybe up a little bit?
I spent half a day on the beach. I'm so tired.
Oh,
I'm sorry
you.
because I was resting.
yeah, go for it.
But, so, there is few concerns that I would like to share with you that are concerning for me and I think for many of us about this whole development. So one of them is that last summer, I'm not sure exactly what, but few months, we have endured a horrible smell coming out of that property. So our outside activities were kind of unpleasant, and I think, and I believe it came out from the mulch that they are processing over there. And I walk around just, with my dog, make like morning routines, and when you go to the trail that we have over there, it was unbearable. Like, you couldn't even walk through that area. So now we're talking about 12 new buildings, right? And I'm concerned because I've heard not too much, and I love the questions that you ask. They answer some of my concerns about the whole building. But so we really don't know who's gonna be in this area. Will it gonna be more people who bring, businesses that again is gonna give us that awful smell? Will it gonna be some other properties that will make a spillage of oil to the soil? Would that affect, the water? We do have gardening, and I don't know how that's going to affect all of that. I'm not specialist, but I've been reading about things like that, and that was my concern as well. The retaining water thing, that's another concern of mine, because they attract mosquitoes, right? That's a kind of area of mosquitoes, and we know mosquitoes are not pleasant to humans anymore. They never were, but at this time they spread diseases, so I'm not sure if this will be a big effect on our outdoor being as well, like, enjoying our properties. So that would be another concern. The buffer zone, the one that is right now, and again, I'm not specialist, but there are trees which are leafy trees, and they're gonna fall for the winter. Everything is exposed. So I know he mentioned that there is an easement from Connecticut Light and Power, which we mentioned already that they came at one point and just cut everything down, exposing us to already industrial area from the opposite of the area that they're building. So we kind of going to be now embedded into highway that we could hear, all the cars going that way. Then we have Lazy Lane, which is giving us another extra noise, and now this will be our extra bucks. So I would appreciate if you, hear us and make a right decision. I know it's gonna be for the best of the town. I'm not specialist in any of that. I'm not sure how much this will bring to the town, but you gave me the opportunity to speak up, so.
No, I
Here I am.
encourage it, I appreciate it. Can I ask you just a geographical question, perhaps?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you live on Lazy Lane, or I'm sorry,
Ivy
on
Drive,
Ivy
yep.
Drive, right, which is this road right here. Are
mhm.
you on this side of Ivy, or are you on the other side?
Across from that first house over here, the other house.
This one?
No, on the right, this
Other
one.
direction,
Yep.
right? Roughly in that area?
This one, yeah, that's
And
my
you're-
house.
You're getting odors, you said, that,
So from that area, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
okay. Could you describe the odors? Were they?
I wish I could bring it to you.
Yeah.
But that would be my kids' diapers when they were 5 or 3
Oh,
or
okay.
1.
Okay, well, that's
I
just,
know.
I got 4 kids, I understand that. Okay,
Yeah, and that was, it was coming with winds, but the area when you walk on the trails, you could, like, from the beginning to the end, to the police station, I was like gagging.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating. So when it's warm, it's even worse. I'm not sure if this is in preparation for what they're planning, but that's what it was last summer. I know what happened last summer.
okay. Because you're the second person to bring it up, and I'm not trying to pick on you, but.
Yeah, go ahead.
This CLMP right-of-way that sits right here in
Yeah.
the light yellow, they're pretty much allowed to clear cut as.
Oh, yeah, no,
as they
I
see fit.
understand.
I
No.
live on Hobart up here, not under the power lines, but they clear cutted that whole
Yeah.
area as well. Or I don't even think the property owner really has any say about what they do or when they do it or how they do it, so.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily preferred, but at the same time, I'm sure they have their reasons.
No,
which I'm not
I
privy
understand
to,
that.
but-
No, definitely. It's just like, I was watching the whole development going, like, since the beginning of all the areas that we are building. I'm just wondering what we becoming as a town, because it's just getting more and more industrial, like, kind of sneaking into the middle of our town, like closer and closer. And I know you're going to tell me, and I did look at the maps. I have a lot of investigation on my own going on. I know I read, there is an industrial area, and it has been like that. But you are the one that makes decisions, and we are here to please that you could consider our.
And again, not to pick on you, but those decisions are based on the
Yeah.
regulations and what are permitted under the regulations.
Yeah,
I-2 zones
I know.
are generally the most permissive zones in our town. So if you look under Section 3B
Yeah,
of our zoning regulations, those permitted uses are listed. I'm not going to read them off. They're quite extensive, however.
So-
And I'll go this far. I'll share a quick story with you. I had a constituent who reached out to me a couple months ago about this area, that they somebody reported that there was a swine, a pig, a hog,
Yes, it was.
housed in the area, and I was asked, is that permitted? I looked at the regulation, and yes, it is
It is.
permitted. So I didn't even know it, and I was
I
like,
would
well, it's
want one.
permitted, so you can't do anything. We are legally obligated as a body
Yeah.
to approve anything that meets our regulation. So when we deliberate this, that's something that we take into consideration as part of that deliberation.
So why are we here?
Well, I'm hoping that you're here, one, to learn about what they're trying to do or what they'd like to
Okay.
do. And also, we have the ability to structure what that might look like and how that might improve the quality of life for the overall town and the residents of it. And in this case, perhaps the people who are most adjacent to that property.
So they don't have specifics as to what the buildings are going to be about, right? They're going to be coming into you with the proposed,
This
building.
is a general proposal, and if it was to be approved, and I don't know what's going to end up happening, but if it was to be approved, then they would be required under our regulations to come in for each of those buildings separately for us to review and render a decision on.
Gotcha. This is my first time, so I'm asking a lot of
No, I
questions.
I get it.
I'm learning. You may see me
I
here
don't-
more.
I don't know if you were here early. We operate differently, and one of the things that I heard when I first became chairman was people don't understand how it works. So, and quite frankly, when I first got on here, I wasn't quite sure how it works. So, but that's, we're trying to just explain to you the process so everybody understands.
All right.
Okay? I appreciate you coming out tonight,
Thank you.
and, let's see where we go.
I hope
right.
we will go well. Have a good night.
Yeah. You too, thank you. Anyone else like to testify in opposition to this application at this time? Hi.
Hi. I shouldn't be here tonight because, as you can see, I'm not 18.
Okay, can you get, you look like you're 17, but can you get closer to the mic and just give us your name and your address, please?
And my name is Johanna, a legal name, but I'm called Hans, A-N-S, like the boy's name Hans without the H. My husband and I
Johanna, where do you live?
65 Ivy Drive.
Ivy Drive, okay, thank you.
We live right on the top of the yellow. We overlook on diagonal the,
Are you up here?
yeah, a little more to the right yet. To the
Over here?
right, yeah.
Okay.
We are, unfortunately, we have a beautiful yard, and because of a wonderful Eversource has taken all our green down, we are now looking at, I'm looking for a word that I can set here, and that's very difficult, because when I came to this country, I spoke English, but I was taught English. I'm from the Netherlands. And I'm going to say the word so you can understand where I come from. It is a shit place. And I use that word because when I first came to this country, and my husband had to go into the army, he's American, I had to learn sayings and words. And I heard that word from very nice people, I thought. I didn't know what it meant, but I heard. And they said, oh, last night it was a hole. I said, oh, that's not very good. So, gotta remember that. But then I was talking to a doctor, and he said, oh, shit, we had so much fun. And I thought, that's good. So after a while, I learned that that word can be used for good and for bad, and it is used by everybody. So, and in my Dutch ears, that sounded short and good, didn't mean nothing to me. So now we're looking at a pile of it. Because, and you were talking about the regulations and so on, and if you go to the town hall, they say, oh, well, thanks for coming very much, can do nothing. We have a nice house the light from that place comes through my dining room. According to what you just said, that's not allowed, because we are a different thing. Just to the right of us, we have beautiful trees on Lazy Lane. There is also an awful lot of wild deer in the Lazy Lane and Ivy Drive, as well as Curtis Street. We have seen it all. So if they are going to build where they want to do, that is going to be coming down then. Where are these animals going? Well, maybe people are more important, but it goes, the whole neighborhood is going to be destroyed. We lived there we are married 63 years, and we lived there for how many? Almost 60 years in the same house. Yeah, it was the same guy, 63 years. No, and nobody ever asked me, the same guy? So, but it is the same guy. Anyway, it's beautiful green trees. So with all the plants that we are hearing and seeing about, they're going to have to come down. Now, when we didn't see houses on Lazy Lane, we now can go in the back of our yard and we can look at Queen Street, because that's already taken down so much. My neighbors that are also here, they don't even are as bad as, we are not as bad as they are, because they still have the beautiful trees there. There is no way that they can put any of those houses and all that plants there without taking all those trees. Then they already took the houses. Bob and I don't live that much longer, but then they're going to buy that up. Then what happened to a neighborhood? And it doesn't matter that all these people all across the way and all that we now see also where their houses, they have to move. We have a neighbor, and thank God we have a real nice neighborhood and nice neighbors. They bought the house 4 or 5 years ago because it didn't had no restriction. And she has big dogs and all that, and that's why she bought that house. Nice tree across, peaceful, nice neighborhood. Now it's bad enough that we have that one place on Lazy Lane that we look at, but now it's on Curtis Street, and it's going to be bigger. It's almost a whole new neighborhood in between, squeezed. What happened to those nice people and all those nice houses? You're just all going to do that away because it's good for one particular neighborhood or company that can buy it up and then do what they want. We are not going to live that much longer, but for the rest of the neighborhood and for all the good people that are living there now, because it just doesn't affect Lazy Lane or Ivy Drive or Norwood Road or Curtis Street. It is that whole section of town, and you are destroying it. Please don't. Thank you.
Okay, Joanna, any questions for Johanna? Thanks for coming out tonight, I appreciate it.
Okay,
Nice to
thank
see you. Anyone else who'd like to testify in opposition to this application at this time? Sir?
Good evening. My name is Ed Jennings, 55 Ivy Drive. So I live where the yellow is. There's no buffer. Okay? So in my backyard, I got a junkyard in the back. I got to look at junk. So now you're going to build 2 buildings down lower. I have no buffer from there to my house, so I'm going to have to look at two new buildings and a bunch of traffic going through there. I think that's unacceptable. And they show a buffer, you know, okay, there's trees there now and back of the other houses. But what are they going to do for a buffer? They're going to plant some little trees or, you know, you're still going to see the buildings. You're going to see everything from our backyard. You know, the wildlife back there, you know, what happens to all that? I don't care, I guess. But, you know, I don't think it's reasonable to build back there. You got the river back there to Quinnipiac. What's, in the outside storage, no, I'm against that totally. I got outside storage over there, it's a junkyard. I gotta look off my deck, I gotta look at it. He's supposed to do something about it, he don't do nothing. So, that's my concerns. I'm against the proposal.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to testify in opposition to this?
Longtime listener, first-time speaker. John Moore, 143 Curtis Street. This entryway road points directly at my front door. So in between the green buffer zones there on the left on the map. Well, where to start? There's a lot. Well, first of all, to echo some points.
John, just if I can just.
Right there,
make
yep,
sure
yep,
You live in
that's-
this area,
that's-
like right across the street there?
Left, right there, that's my house.
This
Yep.
one, okay.
Well, yeah. So some of the previous plans that were approved for the multiple buildings on one lot, those all looked like commercial areas as opposed to a mostly residential areas. This one is. I want to echo that point. There's a lot of safety concerns about the trucks that would go in and out of these industrial buildings. As of now, there's already some large tractor trailers that go through that area. You see the mud on the road from them taking wide turns in and out of the building, or the lot that's there, the driveway that's there. Curtis Street and the other streets are quite hilly and narrow in some places, and a lot more of this traffic is a risk. And if they're coming from Queen Street, then those would be crossing over the Heritage Trail and the walking path there, so that's another risk. There's questions of the flooding zone, the rivers right there, and you lose the beauty of that trail. I've seen mud coming out of that lot with 5 days after rain, so I know that there's more water there than they would have you believe. We've said a couple times that there's kids in the neighborhood, lots of kids, animals. You'd be displacing a lot of wildlife in that regard too. The light pollution, I have a picture from about 40 minutes ago of the light pollution that's existing there. Again, this lights shine right at our house. The traffic comes in at all odd hours. The idling cars all through the night with their headlights on, pointed at our house. There's questions of the existing rules being followed. I would say probably not. And the company is called HQ something or other. Is that right? Because the only signage I see on the building that exists there is a John Kennedy Jr. CPA. So just the name is new to me. There's a bus stop right there on the Riverside court that would be impacted by all the extra traffic as well. Do we know how tall these buildings that are proposed are going to be? I mean, we've talked square footage, but I think the height of the buildings could be another, eyesore for the people in the neighborhood. Oh, I guess we don't have answers to questions. I'm just posing questions.
I'm going to let you finish, and I'm going to respond.
Okay. Well, yeah. The health and safety concerns. Well, I guess one more final point is just because it's been zoned for this, I guess predating the committee being involved, doesn't mean that it has to be fully industrialized and go lean hard into that what is zoned for. It does sound like that there was a previous approval of some residential buildings that the previous owners did not go forward with because this option was more lucrative. So I think that's kind of a slap in the face of the community and the board's, the commission's decision, just trying to wait things out to, to pick the more lucrative option to make more out of the commercial than the residential. I guess that's my statement.
Okay. And again, the applicant is going to come up after everyone speaks and try to respond to a couple things. Let me just try to hit a couple points that you raised. The height or the size of the buildings, that's not in front of us right now. If this was approved, that would come in front of us down the road for each site. Each building would have to be submitted, proposed to this commission, and then the commission would decide whether that's appropriate or not. So there is no answer to your question of the height of the buildings. With regards to traffic, that's not an issue. It's been an issue relative to this site and other sites along this area, industrial sites as well as Lazy Lane, about traffic. Our chief traffic enforcement officers or chief of police, he's opined on that. They're allowed to use the road as much as you or I are allowed to use the road. We have no authority to tell them they can't use the road. They pay taxes like we pay taxes. I hear your concern. I understand that. And on the wildlife issue, my question to you is, do you get wildlife that shows up on your property over the term that you lived there? I had a bear that showed up in my backyard. I live right up the street here. 2 years ago, a sizable bear. He's come back, walks the property. I have a fully gated backyard. He busted that down and came in to get my bird feeders. But I'm curious if you see wildlife mingling or wandering into your yard.
I've seen rabbits and coyotes, yeah.
Rabbits and coyotes, okay.
Deer too, yep. I saw there was a
Yeah.
deer there the other day, yeah. of
Okay.
course.
Okay. Any other questions for John? John, thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate you sharing our concerns. You have a very nice house, by the way. I'm sure you work hard at it, right? Anyone else who'd like to testify in opposition to this application at this time?
Hi, my name is Muriel Nadeau. I live at 55 Ivy Drive.
Okay.
We're right across from the dump that everybody's complaining about. I'm not opposed to Southington growing, doing what they want, but I am opposed to these buildings. This is our backyard. This is what we're going to see, because when they cut the trees to put those buildings, we're going to be seeing Queen Street, believe it or not. Like when I go into my backyard, just walk like past the garden, right now I can see Beacon, and I can see them building a building. So what purpose? Why are they doing the buildings? Like, why won't they tell us what they want to build the buildings? What kind of buildings do they want? And yes, we do have wildlife. Pretty sure I sent the pictures to Mr. LaValle.
Okay.
We have bobcat, deers, bears, coyotes. I'm not afraid of them. I want them. I like the wildlife. We'd like to keep that. If they demolish this, then what's going to come into our yard? Mice, rats, rodents. That's what I'm opposed to. I don't see what value that's going to bring for us. And then if they do those buildings, that decreases our property. So then our property taxes should come down. Am I not correct with that?
I'm not a realtor. I can't answer that question.
I'm done.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm done. Any questions?
Okay. Mary, thanks for coming. Mary, correct?
Muriel.
Muriel?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Thanks for coming out tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
So what you see right now on this property is, give me a description of what that looks like now.
Right now,
Yeah.
we see the dump, trailers, big, I don't know how to describe them. They're like big backhoes,
Okay.
Amazon truck,
So construction equipment?
all kinds of
big,
stuff like that.
he-
And it just-
Heavy-duty
the
construction
bins.
equipment? Okay.
Bins, yeah. I guess, yeah, but we were told that they were going to do something about it, and nothing's been done about it. But right now, because now the trees are growing again, you can see a little, but not as much as what we used to see, you know? And then if I look down, now I see where HQ is going to build. The whole thing, all the way down. You can see right down, all the way to Queen Street.
Okay, so let me, that's what you see right now.
Yeah.
If that buffer were restored, the way that it should be restored per our regulations, which is something that we've talked about, the requirement on the buffer provides for coverage, like evergreen type of coverage, so that it has year-round foliage, which blocks that view a little bit, right? If that area where the heavy construction equipment or all the other, what you, I think, call garbage or dump, were cleaned up and put inside of a building, would you, in your opinion, would that be better for you?
That would
in
be
terms of
better,
what this
but
looks
we
like?
were promised this and he hasn't done it. And I mean, I don't hate the guy for that because it all has to do with Eversource. You know, they're the ones that came and cut all our trees. And then we started seeing Queen Street and then we saw all his stuff. You know, I hate that we had to complain about it, but like in the same respect, now we gotta look with it, you know?
Is there was carnival equipment out there?
Yes.
Years ago.
Yep.
Is that, do you ever see any of that stuff out there now?
Yes, there's some
Okay,
carnival stuff.
everybody, please, I'm asking Muriel, so.
There's some carnival stuff, and then there's, like trucks, more trucks,
Okay,
yeah. But I'm not the dump there that I'm talking about, he's the one on Lazy Lane, not on Curtis Street. Do you understand what I'm saying?
on Lazy Lane?
Yeah.
Okay.
The dump is
I-
on Lazy Lane. It has nothing to do with,
So it has nothing to do with this site?
right, somebody said it, yeah. Yeah.
Does it have anything to do with this site, or is it a different site you're talking about?
I'm sorry?
Is it a different site than this one?
Well, we see it.
Okay,
Because,
but-
you know that building
But
right,
Lazy Lane is over here, right?
no, the building right there.
This one? This building right here?
At the building at?
Ma'am? This
Yeah.
building right here?
Yep.
Okay, that's not part of this application, so.
No, I know.
So.
But that's why I was saying, like,
Okay,
yeah, it's separate from.
okay.
Yeah, the dump, what we were talking about, has nothing to do with Curtis Street.
okay,
You know?
okay. Any other questions or Mariel from anyone else? Thank you for coming out tonight. It was nice
Come
to
on,
see
ask me something.
you. We're trying to get you out of here at a reasonable hour, Mariel.
thank you for
We're
your
approaching
time.
10 o'clock, so.
We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for coming out and sharing
you.
your thoughts. Anyone else who'd like to testify in opposition at this time? Come on up, folks.
Hi, my name's Rocco Gittino. I'm from Watertown. I'll just make this a quick story.
Rocco, go.
For 2 years, my daughter has been looking for a house. She's got her heart set on Southington, and actually with all the driving around we did, I like it myself. So Ivy Drive, I had no idea where that was up until 2 days ago. So we toured the neighborhood yesterday because it came on the market today. So we drove all around. It's a beautiful little neighborhood, so I was comfortable with that. So what happened was I had two concerns. We're looking, it's 39 Ivy Drive, and that's the one with the easement on the side, and it's also the owner of this development. He's trying to buy the house where we were going to bid on. So that being said, I didn't think, my own ignorance, I didn't think you'd be able to build because of the high tension wires back there. So when I called the sewer department today, I learned that the easement, that wasn't going to be too much of a problem for me. Long story short, we were ready to put a bid on that house today. She's in the $500,000 range. We've been looking for almost 2 years. And you all know what the prices in Southington are now. I mean, the values really went up. In fairness to all these people, the way they maintain their property and everything else, it really is terrible. We're no longer going to put a bid on this property, all because of this. And then, I mean, it's terrible for the people that keep up their properties, that all of a sudden they're gonna have this in their backyard. I know what the zoning law is now after listening to you people tonight. But I mean, when you look at a 50-foot, I mean, it's real easy for an average guy or that doesn't really know what they're looking at. A 50-foot easement like they're talking about, this room is just about 50 feet wide. So if the back of my back of that property on 39 Ivy was this wall here, you look through where the flag is on that door, that could be where building 6. I mean, a 10,000 square foot building, 50 feet off the back of your property. And on that 50 feet easement that they're talking about, there was maybe 5 oak trees, and you're looking straight through it. It's really all I had. I just wanted to share that story that, all in one day. My daughter had her heart set. She was going to put an offer. We were hoping she got it. I love doing a lot of, it needed some fixing up. I enjoyed doing that. But when you hear all this, I mean, it's just unfortunate. We'd never buy in that neighborhood because of this.
Well, I appreciate you coming out tonight, Rocco. Just for clarification, it's a 50-foot buffer. The building would not necessarily be 50 feet away.
Right, but I know how to read maps. I
The buffer is
looked at the
required to
map,
be 50
and I saw the
feet.
50 feet, and then I took the measurements, and I saw how far off the 50 feet the parking lot and the building would be, and it's not very far. But unfortunately, when you get a developer that comes out, and I respect the developers, I wish I was one. But when they sell a bill of goods like that, the distance that they're actually saying, it's really not as, I mean, he's got the maps right there. Ask him what the distance from the building to that buffer zone is.
Okay.
Probably about 20 feet.
Rocco, everything comes through me. We don't have
Well,
side conversations.
that's really, like I said, I don't live here. I just wanted to share that, and I feel bad for all these people.
All right, I appreciate you coming out tonight.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else like to, nope. Anyone else like to testify in opposition to this application at this time? Please come forward. Ma'am? You do all the work on the house, right?
Yeah.
Your husband wants to take credit for it, but I'm sure it's you.
So my name's Michelle Walczyk. I live at 143 Curtis Street in Southington. We bought the place about 2 years ago to date. I also own a business in town off of Queen. This is our first time here, so thank you for having us. So a little backstory of what we've experienced and what we're having and what it's been like for the last couple years. We take care of my 2 nieces that are teenagers. So we have a lot of teenagers over. We'll have like Halloween parties, Christmas parties, little things like that. We're originally from Farmington, so a lot of the families come by. And it's not just an eyesore, it's a lot of confusion of what they do there. They ask me like, what type of business is it? Yada, yada, yada. And there's really like no way or form or direction. That's kind of one big thing, like we'll see things. 3 a.m., we have 2 dogs, so the dogs will start barking. 2 a.m., 3 a.m. at night, we'll see expensive cars there really late at night. We don't know why people are out there hanging out. Everyone can do whatever they want. I don't know if there is, since it is a business, is there restrictions? I'm not too sure. Those are things that kind of bring to our attention. The lights are on. We have to get blinds, blacken everything, because at night it comes into my niece's bedroom, into our living room, into our bedroom. So there are bright lights on all night long. There's wildlife. That's another big thing that is really sad to see, because we can hear packs at night. So you'll hear the coyotes going off and howling. And I grew up in a really secluded area in Farmington, and we had 10 acres, so that was kind of like homey to me. The trash is one big concern. I know that you said anyone can kind of come in and go, but these tractor trailer trucks that come in late and then have their lights on directly at our house, it's really startling. It doesn't make it easy to sleep. It doesn't make it easy to live there. We've talked about selling. We've talked about leaving. It's kind of sad to say since we just got here. What else? Yeah, I think the biggest thing is my nieces, like they're kids. They're kind of growing up into this world and seeing it, and a lot of strangers going by. It's not like they're familiar men, and people walking around and talking, and they're nervous. They lost their mom, so they're already on like high alert. So my biggest thing is, I get that we want, or they want to do something here. It's more or less, is this the right place, or is this amount of buildings is appropriate? I don't know. I've never walked that property. It's pretty large, obviously, and there are a lot of big tents that are there. They tried to sell mums at one point. That didn't work. Now they have all these like ivory, whatever, these big trees that they're planting. They chopped a lot of the woodwork down. And right at that lip area, that's also what really floods next to the house that I purchased. So that flooding cuts down that walkway where the trail is. So then that whole street obviously floods. I think we all know that. But then the trucks come from the other side. So then when the trucks come from the other side, like there's a tight turn area. And even if you're coming up and down, that's very nerve-wracking. And, I would like to have young children one day to walk around and enjoy this property. Like my neighbors on Riverside, they walk around all the time. So when you see that, like, it's not a very welcoming kind of feeling. It would be nice to kind of keep this as a residential, but obviously it's up to you guys. And I guess that's it.
Okay. Any questions? Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us. Anyone else like to testify in opposition to this application?
Hello, my name is Christine Paulus. I live at 112 Knollwood Road. I just have a point maybe and a question. In the beginning of the meeting, you stated that the zoning for this particular piece of land has been in place for a very, very long time and predates the current owners, obviously, and prior to them as well. When that zoning was placed, how residential was the area at that point when the approvals were done for it to be that particular type of industrial type property? Was the residential neighborhood as established as it currently stands? If it was not, I feel it's important for the committee to consider the fact that it was approved for that at that point in time may not necessarily be appropriate for today. And that's the point in the question that I had.
I don't know the answer to your question. I don't know what that area was specifically zoned for prior to 1960-something when our zoning regulations were initiated. 67? 57. Oh, even further back.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer to that question is, but I just say that so that people understand that this was zoned as an I-2 zone prior, or was an industrial used area prior to our zoning regulations even being in existence 75 years ago.
I understand that, and the point that I'm making is that our neighborhood was established and built in 1960. So that approval process and everything, all of that was done prior to these homes being built and the neighborhood being established. So with that in consideration of the board, I feel it's important for you to consider, while it may have been appropriate at that point in time to approve that parcel of land for that usage, it's no longer the same as it was when it was established as such.
I appreciate your position. Let me just make a suggestion. We are currently undergoing an update of our plan of conservation and development, which guides the use of and the development in our town. I would encourage you to get involved. It's open to everyone in the community. We encourage everybody in the community to get involved in it. It's looking forward for the next 10 years. What do we want to look like, and how do we want that to look? I think that if you were to get involved, it might be helpful to what you're saying. It might be an avenue for you to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
But I appreciate you coming out on this and appreciate you sharing your thoughts on this specific application at the same time. So
Okay.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else who'd like to testify in opposition? Anyone? Sir, yeah, come on up.
Hi, my name is Jason Boutot. I live at 55 Ivy Drive. I would say the most pragmatic concern that most of the residents of Ivy Drive have is the devaluation of their property. I'd say 3 years ago, before CLMP came in and did their clear cutting, you would walk into each of these people's backyards and from left to right see nothing but a nice lush forest. CLMP came by and cut down the forest on the left side. If you were looking out to the backyard, you still have some forest on the right-hand side, but that's where this development would also be. The buffer zone on the north side of the CLMP easement, it seems to go further into the easement than they'd actually be able to have. The same problem with before, how they said they were clear cutting the forest. So, I don't know how.
We don't control what the electric company does. We have
No,
control
I'm
of
saying this diagram has one of the green buffer zones going into the easement area,
Okay.
it looks
Well,
like.
We'll ask the applicant to clarify what specifically is there, but I hear what you're
Okay.
saying.
And then, so that's the pragmatic concern. The quality of life concerns are obviously a lot of construction happening back there. Since the CLMP clear cut, noise, light, you hear a lot from I-84 and Queen Street. Also the concerns about wildlife. We've seen bobcat, turkey, deer, coyotes. Obviously, it's just something for the board to consider.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
I guess too, with that large of an area, I understand they have a drainage area, but once all that area is developed, wouldn't the watershed also change? I don't know if there's also been that taken into consideration, because that area is already prone to flooding. That's all I have. Any questions?
Okay, Jason, thanks for coming out. Any questions to Jason? Appreciate you sharing your concerns with us. Have a great night. Any other member of the public who'd like to testify in opposition to this application at this time? Seeing none, Mr. Judas? So Steve, first things first, could you just clarify the point that Jason brought up, that green area on the
He's
north,
referring to
yeah,
this
right there.
area here.
Could you just explain what that is, please?
That's just an area that we colored in green because it wasn't part of the development here. The 50-foot buffer would run along the property line and parallel to the property line. So just from a rendering standpoint, the designer just incorporated some additional green space in that area.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chair and Commission members, this property has been industrial use prior to zoning in the town and prior to the development of the residential homes around it. It's been residential, industrial use before the homes. The question would be really, should the homes been built around industrial use? And that happens around town, you know, especially with a historic industrial piece of property. You'll end up with development around that property. But it's still an I-2 piece of property, and it still should be developed within the I-2 standards. Your I-2 standards require a 35-foot buffer because this property is serviced by public sewer and public water. If it was a septic or a well, then we're required to do a 50-foot buffer. We don't just come up with those numbers. Those are numbers dictated by the regulations. In this plan, we proposed 50 feet around pretty much all of the areas of proposed construction, with the exception of this area here around this house. We are proposing a 35-foot buffer in this area, and we're proposing a 35-foot buffer just on this corner right here. So we feel like from a buffer perspective, we're going above and beyond what is technically required by the regulations. The applicant has also stated that if areas of that buffer need to be reinforced with some evergreens to provide some additional buffering, that we're happy to do that as we move along with the process. And part of our site plan for the first few buildings incorporate those notes and that landscaping. So I know it's difficult, but this property will either remain as it is or be developed and be, I don't want to say uncontrolled, but I think it's better to have a plan that brings it into better compliance with an I2 zone and has some guardrails on it as to what the users are going to be as they come in, and have this commission have a better handle as what the users are going to be. You know, the property has had a lot of different users, and the grandfathered nature of it gives it the right to do that. You know, this kind of brings us into order, I guess is the way I would describe it. An orderly development of what we're looking to do here. Some of the comments that we talked about that I heard that caught my attention were the retaining detention basins having water in them. Our basins are typically designed to discharge within 24 hours. However, the state of Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection has stormwater quality manual, and sometimes those basins will require to store water in the bottom of them to provide that stormwater quality. Unfortunately, we don't have a choice in that anymore. When we do our detention, we have to use your standards, but we also have to meet the stormwater quality manual, and that manual sometimes will require us to have some water standing in the basins. The CLMP easement, there's a lot of discussion on that. I think, just to reiterate what I think everyone up here already knows, that we can't control what CLMP does from a cutting perspective. They go in and cut so many times, every so many years, they go in and just kind of clean everything out. And it's difficult when that happens. And when I was driving down Queen Street, I looked up and I could see all the way up to Ivy Drive. And I went, what the heck happened there? What happened was CLMP came in and they cleared the thing straight up. You know, and there's nothing we can really do about that. We can't even really replace buffers along the property lines in that area because the easement prohibits us from doing that. And that's something that happened years and years in the 50s. You know, it's not something we really have any control over. Regarding the property to our north, we understand the issues there. There's not much we can really do about that piece. It's not under our control. I don't think we can have any opportunity to landscape in that area on our property to help because that area is within the easement. We can't really touch it. Building heights would be submitted with the site plans. Obviously, there's a requirement in your zoning requirements for I2 zones. Generally, I'm going to say generally these buildings run between 20 and 30 feet high. And that's what your typical steel building is. I'm not sure what the regulation permits, but again, those will be submitted on a per building basis and will comply with your regulations for each building. There was a mention of a previous approval for residential. That approval, that was not approved. The residential was not approved by this commission, and there was no, that desire never went any further. So the property has always been an I2 zone, and it continues to be an I2 zone. I didn't think I misspoke on that, but I just wanted to clarify that that was not approved. The 50-foot buffer, yeah, probably from one end of the room to the other, about 50 feet. But again, that 50 feet is, I'm just going in the order, I have things circled here. That 50 feet, again, is more above and beyond what technically is required by the regulations. You know, I heard about the timing of the zoning, and it may have been appropriate then, but it's not appropriate now. But it is appropriate now because it is an I2 zone, and every buyer in this neighborhood, you know, should have looked at a zoning map to get an idea of what their neighbor was, like this gentleman spoke towards the end. It is an I2 use, and we have I2 uses in town, and we need them. Without I2 uses, our tax base goes down. So as painful as it may seem, I2 uses benefit the town of Southington as a whole and all the residents in the town. We need I2 zones, and to be honest, we need more I2 zone because we're running out of it, and that helps keep our taxes low and it helps keep Southington a vibrant town, and helps. That's why people want to live here, is because of the services that we provide, and those services derived from the taxes that a product like this produce. Those are the main things that I wanted to address. I don't know about the smell. I've been out there. I haven't smelled anything. I know I wasn't out there last summer, so I can't really speak to that. But I don't know if Mr. LaValle, if there's been any complaints about that But if there's something that's going on and we have a complaint, then we will try to address it, but I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Of course, any other questions?
Before we look at possibly closing the public hearing, I want to just turn to staff and make sure that their comments have been addressed to their satisfaction. So have engineering's comments been addressed to your satisfaction, Dave?
We submitted some comments a little late on this one, so we have some outstanding items on that, and it's my understanding that there's a revision coming for the.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, I believe the comments that you submitted are for the site plan, not the special permit.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, we're just dealing with the special permit right now. So on SPU 712, are your comments addressed to your satisfaction?
Yes, we have.
And Dave LaValle, in terms of planning, have your comments been addressed to your satisfaction as well?
For the SPU, yes.
SPU, okay.
And
We'll
Mr.
get to the
Chair,
site plan later
and if
on.
I know it's not part of this hearing, but the site plan that is on later on the agenda, we have just received comments, so we were going to technically request a table of that site plan because we have to address those comments before
think I
we
have
can
that
really,
note, so.
yeah, really move forward
Yep.
with that, so.
Okay. Any other questions to the applicant for members of the commission? Caleb?
So we did hear a lot from the public about the traffic that goes up the street, up the hill.
Mhm.
Is there any opportunity for a left turn only to come out of that property?
It was approved as a public street with full access. So I don't think restricting it to a right, left-hand turn is really fair to the applicant. It is a public street, and by way of it being zoned I-2, it should be considered that the streets can handle the traffic flow that has already been approved previously in the subdivision. So we'd rather not restrict the flows. And to be honest with you, it's very hard to police that type of request. We can propose it, but we can't be out there to police it.
And that wouldn't be something that the police would enforce if that was a requirement, correct?
I don't think that they would. I don't know.
Okay. All right, and then I'm going to circle back then to to some maybe even draft language for the association. I really would like to see something like that. I would feel more comfortable knowing that there is some language in place for the expectation of the maintenance of that site.
Okay.
I think I've said
Okay.
what I had to say.
All right. Are you all set, Steve?
Unless you have further questions, yes, I am.
Are you, do you object to closing the public hearing? Do you have any objection to
I
closing?
don't object. I guess if there are any questions, once you close it, I cannot testify or respond to anything. You talked about stipulations. I would just ask if you were going to stipulate things that, I have to protect the applicant's rights for the property. So I just hope that, the compliance things would be about things that the I-2 zone, bring it in compliance with expectations of the I-2 zone. That's where I'm at.
I think what I said is if there was a stipulation, I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't know, we're not at that point right now.
I just-
If there was a
once you
stipulation
guys
that the
close it, I
property-
can't address it, so I
the
thought I'd
property
dig it
be
up.
brought into regulation compliance
Yep.
prior to any further development there, how would you feel about that? So I think we're both kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think
and
you talked about
understand your
lighting, you
position.
talked about buffering, and I agree that definitely those things can be brought into compliance.
Okay,
All right?
okay.
Thank
So,
you.
am I hearing that there is no objection from the applicant to closing the public hearing? if
I
we
don't
were to
believe that
move in
there is,
direction?
no. Yeah, I think
Okay.
we're good closing it.
And again, this is on the SPU only right now. Site plan is down the road a little bit. Any objection from any member of the commission to closing the public hearing at this time? Staff okay? Yeah, getting an affirmative there. Okay, we'll close the public hearing on item 10E and move into our business meeting. Item 10A, Sebrevino petition to change his own district boundary from a B to a floating SDMU zone, special design mixed use property located at 1079 Queen Street. This is currently zoned as a business zone. This is zone change number 583. Discussion, motion, what do we got, folks?
I'd make a motion. Can we, and we can
Commissioner
combine-
Keard. No, we're not going to combine all three of
not?
them. We're going to take them one at a time. They're three
Okay.
separate things, so.
Okay. I make a motion to approve ZC 583, and I believe with the stipulation that all planning, engineering, and health department stipulations are satisfied? Is that what we were going for?
Health Department,
Or is that to see, what we got in writing today, is that to your
Yeah, it's
satisfaction?
satisfied, yeah.
Okay, so just,
it is-
we can make a regular motion?
you could do whatever you want, Kat.
All right, I make a motion to
You
approve.
are the power that we fight.
I make a motion to approve ZC 583.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Coles, it's late. Commissioner Coles with a second. Any discussion?
I think this looks, when we saw what this could be, there were concerns, but this is a decent amount of units. I appreciate the affordability. I think this is a good use of wasted space, so.
Okay. Any other discussion from members of the commission? I'll just say, and this is relative to the other three or the other two that are on our agenda as well. I agree with Commissioner Keard. I think that this is a good proposal following a lengthy discussion by this commission on the zone change that was adopted earlier this year. I appreciate the effort that's gone into this by the applicant, and I appreciate that we are having an opportunity to act on this tonight. And with that, can we please call the roll, Dave?
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Ma?
Yes.
Commissioner Caird?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Walowski?
Yes.
And Chair Hammersley.
Hammers is a yes. Motion carries 7-0. Item 10B, Sebrevino, special permit application to allow residential above existing retail building built prior to 1990, property located at 1079 Queen Street, Zone B, SPU 714. Can we get a motion on this one?
I'd like to make a motion to approve SPU 714.
We have a motion by Commissioner Keard. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ma with a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, can we call the roll, please, Dave?
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Ma?
Yes.
Commissioner Caird?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Walowski?
Yes.
And Chair Hammersley.
Hammers is a yes, 7-0. Motion carries. Item 10C, Sebrevino, site plan application for proposed 6 residential units above an existing retail building built prior to 1990, property located at 1079 Queen Street. This is zoned as a business zone, SPR 1899. Mr. Brevino, anything to add to your previous presentation on this one?
Yes, pretty quickly, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Seb Bovino, with Cratchit Jones representing myself. From a site plan standpoint, the property has internal sidewalks and external sidewalks along Queen Street. We have attractive landscaping. The lighting is full cutoff, and it has no trespass on property around in the neighborhood. The area is 2.1 acres. The lot coverage allowed in this zone is 25%. We are proposing 12.34%, which is half of what's allowed. The front setback allowed is 40 feet. We provide 67.6 feet. Side yard is allowed to be 10 feet. We provide 29 feet. Rear yard is allowing 40 feet. We provide 132.9 feet. Green space, we're doubling up the green space required. Not even counting the green space along Queen Street. If you drive, you'll see the beautiful grass that's along Queen Street. It is a good circulation for this proposal, and we have a shared curb cut. So we have.
Okay. Any questions to the applicant on the site plan? Seeing none, anything to add before we move?
No, sir.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion on SPR 1899.
I'm going to bring it home.
Go
Like to
for
make
it.
a motion to approve SPR 1899.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ahmad with a second. You guys are a tandem tonight. Any further discussion? Seeing none, can you please call the roll, Dave?
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmad?
Yes.
Commissioner Caird?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Walowski?
Yes.
Chair Hammerstein?
Hammers is a yes, motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, thank you again. Item 10D, HQ Realty LLC, special permit application proposing to permit multiple buildings on one parcel per section 9C5 of the zoning regulation, property located 136 Curtis Street. This is zoned as an I2, SPU 712. Discussion.
I'll start.
Commissioner Walowski?
I guess I'd like to start by saying I understand the residents' concerns. However, it is I-2, and the application as presented does seem to meet all the requirements. Town staff approves of it. With that, I think that what Steve has presented and offered with individual site plan approvals, it gives us a lot of oversight on how the development is built, and a lot of the neighborhood concerns I think we can address. With that said, I believe that the property needs to be in complete compliance in terms of buffer and lighting prior to any kind of approval.
Is that a motion?
It was a comment.
Okay.
We're discussion. I
Okay.
thought we-
We're in discussion.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're in discussion.
Okay,
now.
we'll do that.
So,
Okay. You all
anyone
set?
have anything to add to that?
Commissioner Coles. I got to look to my left every once in a while. Poor Todd
He's
sits
sneaking up
over here, and
behind
I'm
you,
like-
you know? You gotta watch out for
I told
that
him, like, hit me or something, but go ahead, Caleb.
So, this property has been a mess for years. And I think when I first got on, we had an application, and we had a lot of the community come out and say equally challenging things about how the place was being maintained. Recently, we've received emails to the commission about concerns from the neighborhood about how truck traffic and the site was being maintained. That said, I think that this might be the best opportunity to get some control over what is now chaos. It will continue to exist as it is into perpetuity if something isn't changed. And that's my concern, that if we don't start to look forward and figure out how we're going to fix this, it's never going to get fixed, and we're going to be stuck with this albatross around our neck forever. And so that's my thought on this property.
Okay. Anyone else?
Can I talk?
Technically, no.
Okay.
Sorry. Only seated commissioners can speak at this point. Commissioner Britton.
Yeah, I was just going to second my fellow commissioners with, this could be the only time that we have to maybe bring this up to par where it needs to be. As an avid walker on the bike trail myself, you know, and seeing the eyesores and things, I think there's opportunity here to work together to, you know, move this forward in a positive way. So.
Okay.
I just will offer one more.
One second. Steve, Todd? you-
Yeah, I'm
okay.
just going to concur with
We
what,
just
you know,
have to
my
give it a
colleagues
moment.
here have mentioned. You know, I've driven by that site, living on, you know, kind of that side of town, and every time I drive by, it's, you know, a complete mess. And, you know, I don't live there, but I'm of the mentality that you can either look at a complete mess that's got stuff all over the place that's, you know, not really relevant for the site, like carnival rides or whatnot, or you could look at, you know, an industrial property. I'm not saying it's looking at, you know, a beautiful site, but at least it's orderly, it's, you know, somewhat neat. So, I mean, that's just an opinion, but I think also to their point that this is probably the best opportunity we have to be able to get this developed in an organized and, you know, reasonable fashion.
Okay. You all set? Anyone else before we circle back to Commissioner Walowski? Without objection, Commissioner Walowski, for a second time, go for it.
Yeah, I would just like to offer that, I mean, there's properties that we've approved here in town. There's developments off of Captain Lewis Drive that I would offer are attractive and good neighborhoods. I think that it's a chance to take a blight and head it in the right direction.
Anyone else? I'll just, in the interest of brevity, I'll just ditto everything that's just been said. I've been following this piece of property for the last 6 or 7 years. It really has occupied a lot of my time on this commission, and I've made a commitment to the people in the neighborhood that I've spent had a number of conversations with to try to clean this up. I commend the applicant to come forward with this. I'm hopeful that this will result in a betterment of that appearance, and I think it may be our only opportunity to do that, and I'm hopeful that we'll reach that end. I agree wholeheartedly, specifically with the comments that were made by Commissioner Wolowski. I do believe that we have an obligation to bring this site into full compliance with the zoning regulations prior to any work being done here. I think that will help make it a better situation for the people that I've talked to at length about the issues that they've had with noise and lighting. But it is an I-2 property, and it is the most lenient of all the properties that we have, all the zone properties that we have in town. So with that, can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve SPU 712 with the stipulation that the property is brought into complete compliance in terms of buffer and lighting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Commissioner Britton. Is there any further discussion?
Could we?
Caleb?
Yep, sorry.
Yep.
Could we assure that that buffer does extend the entire length of the western side of the parcel? My point being, and I'll get to this part, is that Mr. Judas had said that they were looking to infill those trees as they go. I would recommend them infill those trees now so that as future develop happens, those trees are more matured, and so that it gives more of an opportunity for any blockage to be filled in.
Steve, you're the maker of the
Yeah,
motion, so
that's fine.
do you accept that as an amendment to your motion?
I accept that as an amendment to my motion.
Seconder of the motion, Commissioner Britton, do you accept that as a second?
I do accept it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Dave, go ahead.
You just have to specify per the proposed plan, because to be in compliance would be the 35, but they're offering 50 on the plan, so I just want to clear that up. So it would be the buffer per plan.
Buffer per plan.
Amended.
Amended?
Amended buffer per plan.
Amended.
We'll get there. Rob, you okay with that?
I am.
Okay. Dave, do you understand the motion?
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Can we please call the roll?
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Ma?
Yes.
Commissioner Caird?
With those stipulations, yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Wolowski?
Yes.
And Chair Hammersley.
Hammersley's a yes. Motion carries 7-0. Item 10E, HQ Realty LLC site plan application proposing to permit multiple buildings on one parcel per section with additional parking 9.c.5 of the zoning regulations, property located at 136 Curtis Street. This is zoned in I-2 SPR 1900. Mr. Judas, do you have anything to add from your
I'm just going
previous-
to respectfully request a table of this application.
You want a table on this one? Okay. So we have a motion for a table.
I'll make a motion to table SPR 1900.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Chaplinsky with a second. Motion made by Commissioner Coles. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, F, G, and H. We are going to look for a motion to table. However, there was a request by the applicant earlier this evening for a 21-day extension on those items. So is everyone okay with granting that extension? Is there any objection to granting a 21-day extension on those three items? This is the 830G on South Main Street. Seeing no objection, we'll grant that that extension. We'll look for a table on item 10F.
I'll make a motion to table ZA 620.
Commissioner Wallowski with a motion to table. Is there a second? Commissioner Ma with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10G, again, there was a motion or request to table this. Commissioner Wallowski, can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to table ZC 582.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Commissioner Ma with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10H, again, there was a request to table on this one. Commissioner Wallowski, can we get that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table SPR 1897.
We have a motion. Is there Commissioner Ma with a second? I could read your eyes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10I, AC Properties LLC, site plan modification, application for proposed building addition, additional parking impervious surface property located at 200 Town Line Road. This is zoned as an I1. This is SPR 1898. Commissioner, I've already elevated you. Look at that. Mr. Judas, the
Maybe
floor is
someday.
yours, sir. You
Thank
have to move here, though.
I lived here for a long time, but just
Yeah.
recently not. For the record, Stephen Judas with offices at 876 South Main Street in Plantsville. I'm here on behalf of AC Properties LLC with property located at 200 Town Line Road. This facility is a 26,000 square foot existing building. They do machining and fabrication, precise machining and fabrication for the aerospace industry. I was told precise is very important. But we're looking to add a 15,000 square foot addition off the back of the building and some parking. There's existing pavement that comes around the back, and we're just going to be adding that lower right-hand corner and pavement, some additional parking spaces, and one loading dock in this addition. Stormwater management is handled through an existing detention basin in the back, those squiggly kidney-shaped lines. We're going to expand that slightly. It's relatively flat site and sandy soils, and I wish they were all as nice as this application. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Any questions to the applicant?
Steve, have we seen this before or something similar to this just recently?
I think
It's
the
a
property next door.
adjacent to it, yeah.
The property next door came in, yeah.
Almost the same layout too, right?
Yeah, yep. That one is on the corner of Redstone and Town Line, but, so I think, yeah, but almost the exact same size building, and, yeah.
Thought I was losing my mind. Thanks.
I had the same exact, I actually asked staff, I'm like, did they just copy and forget to take this off the agenda? So,
Yeah.
Any other questions for members of the commission to the applicant? Caleb?
Steve, so there's a residential on Red Oak just below that. Is there any impact to the buffer growth trees, anything like that? Or
No.
everything's gonna pretty
No.
much, I'm looking at the GIS, it looks like there's a lot of room for you
There
to
is.
operate there. You're
Yeah.
not gonna touch anything?
There's just around the corner of the detention basin, there's some shrubs we're gonna remove just to expand the basin. So that's about it. So there'll still be a adequate buffer. There is a sewer and water easement that the town owns and maintains that runs parallel to the property line. So that area is cleared.
Does that retention basin have to be expanded for this?
Slightly, yes, just about 20 feet.
All right, thank you, Steve. Thank
You all
Mr.
set,
Chair.
Caleb? Any other questions for members of the commission to the applicant? Stephen, excuse me, anything else?
Nope, thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we're looking for a motion on SPR 1898. Commissioner Wallowski, you want to give us that?
I'll make a motion to approve SPR 1898.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Britton with a second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Ma?
Yes.
Commissioner Caird?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Wallowski?
Yes.
And Chair Hammerson.
Hammers is a yes, motion carries 7-0. Congratulations.
Thank you very
Item
much.
10J, Hoist Real Estate LLC, proposed 4-lot subdivision property located at 322 Lazy Lane. This is zoned as an R2025 S1343. I believe we're going to get a request for a table.
Request for table, yes.
Okay,
we're
we have
still
a
revising.
request from the applicant to table. Can we get a motion to that? Commissioner Wallowski?
I'll make a motion to table S number 1343.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Britton with a second?
Say the table.
Huh?
I don't even know if I said to table.
Yeah, your motion was to table. Any discussion from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Administrative items, anything, Dave?
Nothing administrative, sir.
Nothing administrative. Item 12, receipt of new applications. You want to talk about those real quick?
Sure. Northeast winemaking, the shell of the building's going up now. They
Dave,
wanna-
can you get closer to the microphone,
Sure.
please?
They want to expand a bit with their services, so they come before ZBA for some additional liquor approvals. But under the SPU before you, they want to do 20% use of the floor space for retail sales, which is allowed under the SPU. Really, no big issues with it. And then the next item is for a site plan modification for something you had seen before, went to court. It was the 830G out on 294 Landing Street. They want to do 30 units detached. Previously, it was 30 units attached, duplexes. So we will get the court's okay with that soon. It's out there, we just need a copy of it. And then you can move forward with review of the site plan for that application.
Okay.
So it was denied by the commission, went to court.
Yep.
You get a mediation, went forward, and you get a stipulation
Yep.
that it's approved, so.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm trying to keep this agenda as clean as possible because it is a robust one, for better or for worse. So I appreciate everyone's patience and giving us another long meeting. And with that, can we get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Commissioner Britton, motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll give it to Chaplinsky on the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right,
tonight.
thanks, guys. Yeah. We got 6 other people. You have to explain that.